Chapter 1222. The rage in Wang Yiji's heart grew as he thought of his nephew's miserable state of being bullied by her. His face darkened the entire day, causing all the students in the hall to be on tenterhooks. When Yun Luofeng arrives, get him to come see me. Wang Yiji scoffed coldly and turned to walk out of the hall. No matter how long Yun Luofeng runs away, there will come a day when he returns. When that time comes, he will make her pay a painful price. In Academy City, the streets were bustling with people and carriages. Yun Luofeng held the back of her head with both hands and narrowed her eyes. The corners of her lips curled into an evil smile. Her black eyes were incomparably deep as she stared deeply at the street in front of her. Yun Xiao, do you plan to come with me to the academy or stay here? Yun Xiao paused in her footsteps and turned her eyes towards the young girl beside her. After a moment of silence, she said, I have no interest in the academy, so I'll wait for you here. All right. Yun Luofeng put down her hand, her slightly raised brows full of smiles. Then let's go take a look at the house first and settle down here. Now that you're here, I won't stay in the academy in the future. Honestly speaking, the cultivation rooms in the academy were not very attractive to her. What she needed was the fruit of the soul. If not for that, she would not have stayed in the academy. Master, why don't you ask Yun Xiao to help you get the fruit of the soul? Little Mo's puzzled voice sounded from within her soul. With Yun Xiao's power, as long as Yun Luofeng asked, he could do it. But Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a shallow smile. Firstly, I don't know where the fruit of the soul is for now. Secondly, I don't want to fall out with West Continent Academy. After all, those cheap masters have been very good to me and I don't want to hurt their hearts. Thirdly, she paused and continued, I won't ask for Yun Xiao's help for things that I can do with my own power, even if he's my man. Little Mo fell silent. He had followed Yun Luofeng for 2 lifetimes and naturally understood Yun Luofeng's character. If she could complete a task by herself, she would never ask for help from others. Furthermore, if the Western Continent Academy had betrayed her, even if she had to forcefully seize it, she would snatch the soul fruit. It was precisely because the few elders in the Western Continent Academy treated her well that if she had any other way, she would definitely not shed all pretense of cordiality with them. Master, Little Mo sighed. No matter what you do, I will accompany you. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and smiled. Thank you, Little Mo. The young girl's voice warmed Little Mo's heart. At that moment, he clearly understood that he was willing to do anything for her. After a while, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao found a house and bought it at a very reasonable price. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into an angle as she stared at the fresh and elegant courtyard in front of her. She lowered her eyes and a faint luster appeared on her beautiful face. Yun Xiao, from today onwards, this place will be our temporary home. No matter how busy she was in the academy, she knew that in this house, there was a man who had always been waiting for her. Hearing the young girl's words, Yun Xiao hugged her waist from behind and used his chin to rub against her head. A low and hoarse voice sounded in her ear. Chapter 1223. I'll wait for you here. Yun Luofeng's heart skipped a beat. She turned around and looked at the man standing in front of her. Yun Xiao, should we hire some maids and cooks? No need. Yun Xiao shook her head and smiled. I'm enough. We don't need extra people to disturb our lives. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's smile grew. I've been away from the academy for about half a month. I'll be going to the academy later. This place isn't very far from the academy. Yun Xiao pondered for a moment before continuing. So if you're in any danger, I can rush over to save you. He indulged her in everything. But that didn't mean that he was willing to put her in danger. As long as she was in any danger, he would rush over without a care for anything else. Fire, small tree, Little Mo. As soon as Yun Luofeng's voice fell, a few figures appeared beside her. She continued. During this time, I'll give you your freedom. I won't let you stay in the divine grimoire space. You can come and go as you please. Master, I love you too much. Little Mo's eyes lit up. He excitedly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. He pouted his lips and planned to kiss Yun Luofeng's cheek. Unfortunately, before he could reach Yun Luofeng's side, a large hand grabbed him from behind and pulled him away from Yun Luofeng. He needs to be disciplined. Yun Xiao's low voice rang out as his cold eyes stared warningly at Xiao Mo, who was in his hands. For the first time, Little Mo regretted facilitating Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, because this man was a complete vinegar jar. Even he was not allowed to get close to his master. What made Little Mo despair was that Yun Luofeng only glanced at him and said, "Do whatever you want, Master." Seeing that Yun Luofeng was about to leave, Little Mo cried out in panic, "You can't value a lover over a friend. We've been friends for 2 lifetimes. How can you abandon me?" No matter how Little Mo screamed, Yun Luofeng didn't stop and left the courtyard. 2 lines of tears of despair flowed down Little Mo's cheeks. He cried miserably, "You're a woman who values a lover over a friend." His cries passed through the walls of the courtyard and permeated outside the house. If it was an ordinary person, they definitely wouldn't meddle in other people's business. However, there were always those who thought they were in the right and stood up to criticize the other party. Just as Yun Xiao was about to turn around and leave with Xiao Mo, an angry shout came from outside the door. "Even if the child did something wrong, you can't hit him like this. Look at how pitiful this child is crying. How can you bear to treat him like this? Are you still his father?" Yun Xiao's cold eyes swept towards the meddlesome woman standing outside the main door as his handsome face grew increasingly solemn. Yun Xiao, who was with Yun Luofeng, never wore that mask. Hence, at this moment, his handsome and grim features were clearly seen by the woman. A stunned look flashed across the woman's eyes. A complicated and regretful expression appeared on her beautiful face. What she felt complicated was that such a handsome man would treat a child so harshly. It was a pity that such a peerless man was already married and had a child. Scram! The man did not say anything else, but that one word shook the woman's heart. She felt as if all her internal organs had been shaken and turned numb. "Don't you think that you've done something wrong?" the beautiful woman asked righteously. "He's only a child, how could you mistreat him like this?" Chapter 12:24. As she spoke, the woman's leg was about to cross the threshold. A murderous intent flashed across Yun Xiao's eyes. "If you dare to take another step through the door, I'll cut it off immediately." The man's cold and murderous voice caused the woman's body to tremble, and she subconsciously retracted her leg. This man's aura is too strong, so strong that perhaps even Master is not as strong as him. The beautiful woman frowned. "Your child is crying so pitifully. Could it be that you have the heart to do so?" Bang! The man waved his sleeves and a wave of energy shot out, sending the woman's body flying violently. At the same time, he slammed the door shut, locking the beautiful woman outside. Senior Sister Mengqi. When they saw the beautiful woman fall, the crowd behind her reacted and hurriedly helped her up. "Senior Sister Mengqi, are you all right?" The beautiful woman broke away from the crowd's support and a strange light flashed across her beautiful eyes. "I'm fine, I just saw an injustice. Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough and I can't save that child. Now I can only drop the matter." "Senior Sister Mengqi, this isn't your fault. It's the parents who are inhumane. They're actually abusing their child." Everyone spoke up for the injustice. Hearing these people's words, the beautiful woman felt a little better. "I don't think this man is a bad person. In comparison, the child's mother is definitely not a good person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have abandoned the child and left a man to face a child." At this moment, the beautiful woman's mind was already filled with the scene of abandonment. Her heart unconsciously sympathized with Yun Xiao, and she was no longer as angry as before. In her eyes, this man must have been abandoned by his wife, which was why he had flown into a rage out of humiliation and vented his anger on the child. The poor child was abandoned by his irresponsible mother, and abused by his father. If she was the child's mother, she would never abandon such a delicate and jade-carved boy. "Let's go back to the academy first." Yao Mingqi's eyes were filled with pity. She took one last look at the tightly shut door before turning around and leading a group of people back to the academy. In the courtyard, Xiao Mo had already shut his mouth. The corners of his eyes were still glistening with tears as he carefully looked at Yun Xiao. "Did I get into trouble?" He only wanted to lament and complain to keep Yun Luofeng here. Who would have thought that a meddlesome woman would jump out? Her master's man was so outstanding. What if other women took a fancy to him? The more Little Mo thought about it, the more he regretted it. If he had known this would happen, he would have obediently accepted the discipline. Yun Xiao's eyes were cold and his face was expressionless. An ant can't stir up a storm. In other words, he didn't care about that woman's strength. If she dared to come forward and pester him, he would definitely break her mercilessly. Little Mo let out a sigh of relief. He was very confident in Yun Xiao. This man only had his master in his eyes and in his heart. If there were really women who were to send themselves to his doorstep, he would be the first to not let them off. Just as Yun Luofeng stepped through the gates of the academy, he noticed some people's cautious and furtive gazes. Their eyes were filled with sympathy and pity. When they saw Yun Luofeng's gaze, they hurriedly looked away and pretended as if nothing had happened. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. He did not know what had happened, but when she found her school, she understood why those people were looking at her with such a gaze. Chapter 1225. Yun Luofeng. Wang Yizhi was teaching students when he suddenly noticed Yun Luofeng at the door. He flew into a rage. "You've been absent for so many days and you still dare to come to the academy. Who gave you the courage to not come to the academy for half a month?" Yun Luofeng's evil eyes glanced at Wang Yizhi. "I've asked for leave, don't you know? Actually, this matter was to be blamed on the void. He had originally arranged for someone else to manage the Soul Teacher Hall. So he sent someone to pass Yun Luofeng's letter to that teacher, who knew that Wang Yizhi would bribe him and switch him over. That teacher was so busy that he forgot about this matter, so Wang Yizhi didn't even know that Yun Luofeng had handed over the letter." "What letter? I didn't receive it." Wang Yizhi snorted. "You've been absent for more than half a month. According to the rules, you'll be expelled from the academy. However, I can give you a chance. I'll whip you 100 times. Hua!" And Zihao hurriedly stood up. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. "Miss Yun is a girl and has a weaker physique. I'm willing to take the punishment for her." After all, Yun Luofeng had offended Wang Yizhi and his nephew because of them. He should take the punishment for her. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to take the punishment for her?" Wang Yizhi sneered and said disdainfully, "Today I'm going to teach Yun Luofeng a lesson. If anyone dares to plead for her, I'll expel him from the academy." And Zihao wanted to say something, but he suddenly received a signal from Yun Luofeng. This caused him to swallow the words that were on the tip of his tongue. His brows were filled with worry. "Expel me from the academy? I'm afraid you don't have that right." The girl's voice was cold and heartless. Her slightly raised brows were domineering and extremely arrogant. "In this academy, you're the first person who dares to speak to me like this." Wang Yizhi sneered. His slightly narrowed eyes flashed with a fierce light. "So I'll let you know the consequences of disobeying a teacher." Boom! Enraged, Wang Yizhi unleashed the pressure from his body and launched an attack on Yun Luofeng. His gaze was extremely sharp, like a sharp sword that could kill without leaving a trace. "Miss Yun!" And Zihao was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. However, he could only watch helplessly as Wang Yizhi charged towards Yun Luofeng. Just as the slap was about to land on the young girl's forehead, the young girl finally moved. Bang! She took 2 steps to the side and tightly grasped Wang Yizhi's palm. Under everyone's shocked gaze, she suddenly pulled back her hand, and Wang Yizhi's body was smashed to the ground in front of everyone. "I told you I've asked for leave before." Wang Yizhi's fall wasn't light. He stood up with his hands on his waist and angrily glared at Yun Luofeng. "You dare to hit me? Good, very good. Since you even dare to beat me up, then don't even think about staying here. I will definitely expel you from the academy." Yun Luofeng didn't look at him anymore. He turned around and walked in the direction of the cultivation room. She had originally thought that the teachers of the Western Continent Academy were very strong, but now it seemed that they were only SOSO. Rather than wasting time here, he might as well cultivate on his own. "Yun Luofeng!" Wang Yizhi roared angrily. His roar reverberated through the entire academy and lingered for a long time. The disciples in the Soul Teacher Hall were all stunned. No one thought that Yun Luofeng would dare to treat Wang Yizhi like this. After all, Wang Yizhi was also a teacher of the academy. Chapter 1226. Moments later, the entire academy was in an uproar. It was said that the disciple who entered the academy today had actually beaten up Wang Yizhi. Even the number 1 disciple on the heaven list did not have such guts in the past. It seemed that this year the West Continent Academy was destined to not be peaceful. In the West Continent Academy, There was a clear hierarchy. Other than the elusive dean, the elders were the most respected, followed by the hall masters. The academy was divided into a few halls, namely the Morning Hall, Medical Hall, Beast Taming Hall, and Steward Hall. The first 3 halls corresponded to the subjects that the students studied. Similarly, once one reached the Earth list, one had the right to enter the various halls and did not need to stay in the academy to continue studying. As for the Steward Hall, as the name suggested, it was used to punish disciples who made mistakes. It could be said that the Steward Hall's hall master had the highest authority in the 4 halls. Of course, if a student wanted to be above the hall masters, they had to enter the heaven list. Only the people on the heaven list had a status below the elders. Under the hall master were the teachers of the various academies. These teachers did not have a high status in the academy, but they had the right to control the academy's disciples. At this moment in the Steward Hall, the various hall masters gathered and looked coldly at the crying Wang Yizhi. Hall master, this disciple called Yun Luofeng is too much. He completely does not know how to respect his teachers. Our academy cannot allow such a student to stay. Wang Yizhi cried with snot and tears, his eyes filled with grievance, as if he had really been bullied by Yun Luofeng. The Steward Hall's hallmaster frowned. According to what you said, Yun Luofeng is indeed too much. Hee. The Morning Hall's hallmaster smiled faintly, his fingers stroking his beard, and said, I think that Wang Yizhi did not know right from wrong and punished his disciple. As far as I know, Yun Luofeng did indeed submit a leave letter. As for who approved it, I do not know. So what if he has a leave letter? Even if he has taken leave, he cannot do anything to a teacher. Our academy cannot accept such a disciple. I think that Yun Luofeng should be kicked out of the academy. The one who said this was the Medical Hall's hall master. His expression was very ugly, and his tone was stern. This old antique valued respecting teachers the most. How could he allow a disciple like Yun Luofeng to exist? So what if Wang Yizhi was wrong? If the teacher judged her to be wrong, then she was wrong. As a student, she could only swallow the bitter pill. Who allowed her to lay her hands on her teacher? We don't know how to decide on this matter. Why don't we wait for the elders to finish their tasks before reporting to the elders and letting them make a decision? The Beast Taming Hall's hallmaster frowned and suggested, the elder is very busy right now. How can we bother him over such a small matter? The Medical Hallmaster sneered. Yun Luofeng doesn't respect his teacher. He should be expelled. A sinister glint flashed across Wang Yizhi's eyes when he heard the Medical Hallmaster's words. Yun Luofeng, you're still a little too inexperienced to fight me. How about this? The hall leader of the Morning Hall stood up. The corners of his lips curled into a small smile. If Yun Luofeng can charge into the Earth ranking within 5 days, he will have the right to join any of the halls. At that time, his status will be more noble than Wang Yizhi's. Beating him up won't be a big deal. What do you all think? Within 5 days, the hall master of the Medical Hall laughed out loud. All right, I'll give him this chance. Chapter 12:27. Enter the Earth list in 5 days? That was impossible. The Medical Hall master snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves and quickly walked out of the duty hall. The others also dispersed when they saw him leave. This is as far as I can help her. The hall master of the Morning Hall laughed. His aged eyes were filled with happiness. He quickly walked out and disappeared under the sunlight in the courtyard. In the cultivation room, Yun Luofeng had just stepped into the room when a knock came from the door. She raised her eyebrows and said, Come in. As soon as she finished speaking, the door was pushed open and an old man dressed in navy blue robes walked in. What's the matter? Yun Luofeng looked at the old man who had entered the room and raised her eyebrows. Yun girl, I have come to find you for something. The old man smiled. Right, I haven't introduced myself. I am the hall master of the Morning Hall, Mu Ran. Hall master of the Morning Hall? After entering the academy, Yun Luofeng had learned about the division of power in the academy. So when she heard that the person in front of her was the hall master of the Morning Hall, she could not help but frown. She did not understand the other's background. You hit Wang Yizhi? Mu Ran asked straightforwardly. Yun Luofeng laughed arrogantly. He deserves a beating. Mu Ran immediately fell silent. This girl was just like what that person had said. She was arrogant and wild, but she didn't make people feel disgusted by her. Girl, you've caused trouble this time. Wang Yiji has reported this to the duty hall and wants to kick you out of the academy. Fortunately, I have fought for an opportunity for you. As long as you enter the Earth list in 5 days, this punishment will be lifted. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and looked at Mu Ran. You can be sure that I can enter the Earth list in 5 days? Mu Ran laughed involuntarily. If it was someone else, they might not have this ability. But if it was you, can you do it? Why? Also, why are you helping me? Because I owe someone a favor. Mu Ran smiled as she looked at Yun Luofeng. I promised him that I would take care of you after you came here. Yun Luofeng fell silent. She really could not think of who was helping her behind the scenes. So she asked, who do you owe? Chun Yuqing. Chun Yuqing? Yun Luofeng was startled and a trace of helplessness flashed across her lowered eyes. So Chun Yuqing had been helping her behind the scenes. Girl, you only have 5 days. This is all I can help you with. If you can't enter the Earth list, I won't be able to protect you. Mu Ran stood up, the smile on his face unchanged. Now I won't disturb your cultivation. As he finished speaking, he turned and walked out, closing Yun Luofeng's door on the way. 5 days. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin. 5 days is enough. At this time she did not choose to look for her cheap masters. Because such a small matter did not require the help of others. She could totally rely on her own strength to stay in the academy. At this thought, she stood up and walked out. In the Western Continent Academy, there was a special competition arena, and disciples were not allowed to fight in private. At this moment the arena was bustling with noise, and it was as lively as a market. However, when Yun Luofeng stepped into the martial arts arena, the entire arena quietened down. It's her? I think she's called Yun Luofeng? Yes, she's the Yun Luofeng who dared to injure Wang Yiji. I heard that the Stewards Hall has set a rule for Yun Luofeng. If she can enter the Earth list within 5 days, her punishment will be waived. Otherwise, she will be expelled from the academy. Chapter 12:28. 5 days? TSK, how's that possible in 5 days? The disciples who can enter the Earth list are all venerable ones. Even the last one is a beginner venerable one. Every one of them is more powerful than Wang Yiji. I really don't know where she gets her confidence to come here. If I were her, I'd pack up and get lost. That's better than embarrassing myself here. The crowd discussed among themselves as they watched the young lady walk toward the ring. Their eyes were filled with mockery and mockery. At that moment, 2 young men were flattering each other around the ring. They did not even notice Yun Luofeng, who was walking toward them. Brother Hu, congratulations. You finally entered the 20th place on the Earth list, unlike me, who's still hovering around the 50th place. You're flattering me. I was just lucky. Brother Lin, you're younger than me. In a few years you'll definitely surpass me. The young man, who was addressed as Brother Lin, wanted to flatter Hu Xiong again, but his line of sight was blocked. He was stunned. When he looked up, he saw a young lady in white standing in front of him. The 20th place on the Earth list? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and curled his lips into a faint smile. I want to challenge you. The young lady's devilish voice reverberated in the crowd. It was deafening, and everyone was dumbfounded. What? Is she really going to challenge the Earth list? Why did she not choose Lin Xiong, who's ranked 50th, but Hu Lin, who's ranked 20th? Want to challenge me? Hu Lin pointed at himself in disbelief. Young lady, I don't have a sense of propriety when I fight. If I'm not careful, I'll break someone's limbs. Are you sure you want to challenge me with your skinny arms and legs? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. That's right, I want to challenge you. After confirming the answer from the young lady, Hu Lin could not help but burst out laughing. Since you want to challenge me, I'll grant your wish. Come, let's fight in the ring. Hu Lin had broken through to the advanced venerable realm. Therefore, he was confident that Yun Luofeng was no match for him. Under everyone's gaze, Yun Luofeng and Hu Lin had already walked into the arena. I'll let you make 3 moves first. Hu Lin pointed 3 fingers at Yun Luofeng disdainfully, his face full of ridicule and contempt. Yun Luofeng's devilish eyes swept over him, but he didn't stand on ceremony. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Hu Lin. Hu Lin's expression suddenly changed, and cold sweat flowed down his forehead. He hurriedly raised his hand to meet Yun Luofeng's attack. Boom! With a loud bang, Hu Lin's body was sent flying out of the arena. Silence. The entire martial arena was deathly silent. The people who had been clamoring were dumbfounded by Yun Luofeng's actions. They stared dumbfoundedly at the young girl with her right hand behind her back. Cough cough. Hu Lin coughed dryly and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Yun Luofeng with an ugly expression. You're a Holy Spirit? Holy Spirit. These 3 words caused a commotion in the crowd. Even in the 7 continents where Holy Spirit practitioners could be found everywhere, reaching the Holy Spirit realm at such a young age would still shock everyone. Yes. Yun Luofeng nodded gently in response to Hu Lin's confusion. In the beginning, she hadn't wanted to reveal her abilities, as she was afraid that her motive for coming would be discovered. However, she had now thought it through. The more she hid, the more people would bully her. Hence, why would she continue to hide her abilities? Fuck. Hu Lin cursed. You're a Holy Spirit, yet you're challenging a venerable realm like me. Don't you have any shame? There are so many people on the Earth list. Why did you challenge me instead of the others? Chapter 1229. Hu Lin felt very wronged. He was only a venerable spiritualist. The difference in strength was huge, but Yun Luofeng just had to find him. How could he not feel wronged? Yun Luofeng shrugged. Here, I only heard your ranking. I don't know what the others are ranked. Are you going to challenge the 50th place next to me? Hu Lin's voice suddenly disappeared. He did not know what to say. He deserved to be unlucky? Wasn't he just chatting with someone? Why did he have to encounter such a thing? Brother Hu. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Lin Xiong's entire body trembled. He smiled awkwardly and said, This matter has nothing to do with me. Who told you to rank higher than me? If she doesn't look for you, does she want to look for me? I'm only a beginner venerable spiritualist. Hu Lin glared at Lin Xiong angrily. He crawled up from the ground and snorted. I'm unlucky. Thinking about how arrogant he looked earlier, Hu Lin wanted to find a hole to hide in. Make way, make way. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the back of the crowd, and Zihao squeezed through the crowd with great difficulty and saw Hu Lin glaring at Yun Luofeng. His expression instantly changed and he looked anxious. However, Hu Lin did not say anything in the end. He turned around and walked out of the crowd, and Zihao hurried to Yun Luofeng's side and asked anxiously, Miss Yun, how did you offend Hu Lin? Yun Luofeng's gaze fell on Zihao. Why? This Hu Lin's younger brother is ranked 10th on the heaven list. And Zihao wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. You actually offended him. You're finished. There were only 10 disciples on the heaven list, but each of them was an elite. Even the person ranked 10th had strength surpassing a Holy Spirit. Above a Holy Spirit there were a few levels. They were Holy King, Holy Venerate, and Holy Lord. Each level was the same as before. It was also divided into beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. However, only Holy Kings were qualified to enter the heaven list. Therefore, the geniuses on the heaven list were all exceptionally talented. I'm tired. Yun Luofeng yawned and said lazily, I'll go back and rest first. Miss Yun. Seeing Yun Luofeng turn around and walk out the door, and Zihao hurriedly chased after him. His expression was so anxious that his face had changed color. He was afraid that the genius on the heaven ranking would come looking for Yun Luofeng to settle the score. Heaven Series Cultivation Room. On the exquisite and luxurious bed, the man's enchanting and peerless figure was leaning on the chaise longue. His pair of seductive fox-like eyes shone with a shrewd and cunning light. You said that my big brother was defeated by a little girl? His voice rang out lazily and a smile appeared on his peerless face. If Ji Jiutian's charm was only on the surface, it was more overbearing and arrogant. This man, on the other hand, was charming to the bone. Every frown and smile of his was extremely charming, like a peerless beauty, so beautiful that it made one forget to breathe. Senior brother Hu Lin was indeed defeated by a new little girl. That little girl even injured Wang Yizhi in front of everyone. This girl is quite interesting. My big brother isn't strong, but he's an advanced venerable martial artist. It's not easy for her to defeat him. The man waved his hand and draped a peach-colored robe over his body. His lips curled into a fox-like smile. I'd like to meet this little girl. Chapter 12:30. Junior brother. At this moment, a voice came from outside the door. Huli frowned slightly. Perhaps he was very impatient with the person who came. Just as he was about to tell the person beside him to say that he was not there, the door was pushed open by a slender hand. If Xiao Mo was here, he would definitely recognize the woman who came in. It was the nosy person from before. Yao Mingqi walked in quickly and walked towards Huli. Junior brother, I'm back. What's wrong? Don't you welcome me? Huli's expression was slightly impatient. I still have something to do. If you want someone to accompany you, you can go find someone else. I'm sorry, but I won't be accompanying you. Junior brother, why are you so cold to me? After all, I was bullied outside today. Yao Mengqi sat down angrily and poured herself a cup of tea. Her face was full of anger. Hearing this, Huli's eyes flashed with excitement. Yao Mengqi was bullied outside? Ha ha, that's great. Who asked this woman to bother him all day long? Senior brother? The disciple who had not left looked at Huli and reminded him speechlessly. Senior brother, even if you're so excited to see senior sister Yao being bullied, can you not show it so obviously? It's as if you really want someone to bully senior sister Yao. Huli also felt that his excitement was too obvious. He hurriedly coughed twice and asked, what happened? Fortunately, Yao Mengqi was currently in a state of anger, and did not notice Huli's flash of excitement. On my way back today, I saw a man lecturing a child. The child was crying miserably. I was so angry that I wanted to stop the man. Oh, Huli's eyes flashed slightly. Did the man bully you? No, Yao Mengqi's eyes were filled with pity. He didn't bully me, and I sympathize with him. This man is also very pitiful. The one who really goes too far is the woman who abandons her husband and son. If I see that cruel woman, I will definitely tear her into pieces. When Huli saw the light in Yao Mengqi's eyes when she talked about the man, a smile gradually appeared on his face. That's great. Yao Mengqi, this woman, was finally interested in other men. He could finally get rid of her. Junior brother, don't you think that woman is too much? Yao Mengqi said angrily. How can there be such a cruel woman in this world? Such a handsome husband, such a delicate child. She's actually willing to abandon them. If it were me, I would definitely not do such a thing. If he hadn't been abandoned by a woman, why was there no one in the yard where the man lived? What's more, if he hadn't been hurt before, this man wouldn't be so cold and heartless towards others. Especially to a woman like her, he would choose to use such a violent method. Yao Mengqi felt sympathy for Yun Xiao, but she didn't know that in this man's heart, only Yun Luofeng was special. Other than in front of Yun Luofeng, he would melt all the ice in front of him. He would never treat other women differently. Not bad. Huli nodded in agreement. If it were you, you definitely wouldn't abandon that man. Senior apprentice Sister Mengqi, since you sympathize with him so much, why don't you go find him? It would be best if she went now and returned some peace to herself. No, he's just been hurt. Even if I go, I won't be able to comfort him. Instead, I'll be rejected by him. Yao Mengqi sighed a little dejectedly. However, it's a good thing I remember where his house is. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Chapter 12:31. After saying this, Yao Mengqi stood up and said with a determined gaze, Junior brother, be a good person to the end. I will use my entire life's energy to heal the damage he has suffered in his heart. I will not give up. Furthermore, if I were that child's mother, I would never let anyone hurt him. Go, I will definitely support you. Huli heaved a sigh of relief. Right now, he only wanted to get rid of this pestering woman. Thank you, junior brother. When I'm done, I will treat you to a meal. No need for a meal, just don't appear in front of me again. Huli raised the corners of his lips and leaned lazily on the chaise longue. He and Yao Mengqi were ranked 9th and 10th respectively, but their strengths were similar. In fact, he was even stronger. However, he had no interest in this ranking, so he had never competed with Yao Mengqi for a ranking. Because of this, Yao Mengqi thought that he had fallen in love with her, and had given the 9th place to her. And because of this misunderstanding, he had been pestered for many years, thinking of those rumors, Hu Li had the urge to vomit. Yao Mingqi was not bad-looking, but she was not the type he liked. How could he give up his ranking for a woman? The funny thing was Yao Mingqi thought the same. Even though Hu Li had repeatedly said that he had no other intentions towards her, she still thought that Hu Li was too shy to admit it. Tell me, how did a stubborn person like Yao Mingqi enter the heaven role? Hu Li pointed in the direction that Yao Mingqi had left and asked speechlessly. The young disciple pondered for a moment. Senior sister Yao's talent is not bad. Her talent was not bad. Coupled with the superior environment that she grew up in, she had successfully entered the heaven role. I really pity the man who received her sympathy, Hu Li smiled. Based on my understanding of Yao Mingqi, she definitely doesn't understand the real situation. She just imagined a drama of abandoning her husband and son. She even thinks that what she did was right. When it comes to people like her, I just want to tell you to stay as far away from me as possible. The corner of the young disciple's mouth twitched. Senior brother, senior sister Yao's nature is not bad. So what? Hu Li raised his eyebrows and smiled. I can't stand the way she conducts herself. In comparison, I am more interested in Yun Luofeng. Senior brother Hu Li, are you going to cause trouble for Yun Luofeng? The young disciple looked at Hu Li and asked softly. What do you mean cause trouble? Do you know how to speak? Hu Li glared at him. Am I someone who will cause trouble for others? I just want to wait until tomorrow to talk to her about life and ideals. That's not looking for trouble. The young disciple shuddered. He couldn't help but sympathize with those who were interested in senior brother Hu Li. Yun Luofeng didn't stay in the academy for long. Once the sun set, she walked out of the academy. Perhaps because she had beaten up Wang Yizhi before, no one dared to stop her, and they could only watch as she left the academy. All these years she had up all it Yun and Yun mused she. Yun she Yun the Yun. All she had been running all these years only she felt only and to up. You're back. Yun Xiao raised his head and saw Yun Luofeng standing at the doorway. His cool and handsome face slightly curved. Dinner has been prepared. I haven't been by your side during this period of time and you've lost weight. Chapter 1232. Yun Luofeng smiled. I'm used to the meals you prepare. I'm not used to eating outside food. Even the top chefs in the restaurant aren't as good as you. She slowly walked towards the man. Cultivators could go years without eating, because spiritual energy could satisfy their hunger. However, when they weren't cultivating, humans still needed to enjoy food. Moreover, how many people would be able to resist the temptation of such a delicacy? Yun Xiao, your cooking skills are improving. Yun Luofeng sat down. She used a spoon to gently scoop a spoonful of lotus porridge and tasted the tea. The fragrance filled her nose and melted in her mouth, leaving an endless aftertaste. As long as you like it. Seeing Yun Luofeng's satisfied expression, Yun Zhao's eyes were full of smiles. If you're willing, I can cook for the rest of my life. Okay. Yun Luofeng raised her brows at the man in front of her. Yun Xiao, after tasting your food, I'm afraid I can't leave you for the rest of my life. She was already very satisfied with her current life. She hoped that there wouldn't be any more disturbances in the future. Oh right, where are your subordinates? Yun Luofeng seemed to remember something and asked. Yun Xiao pondered for a moment and answered. I sent them to find Bai Su. If I'm not wrong, Bai Su has also come to the 7 continents. Bai Su. Yun Luofeng hadn't remembered this man in a long time. Now that she heard Yun Zhao's words, her hand holding the spoon paused. This Bai Su is a scourge. Don't worry. Yun Xiao walked behind Yun Luofeng and gently hugged her from behind. I won't let him hurt you. The man's embrace was very reassuring, so reassuring that she let down her guard. Yun Xiao, I believe you. If he said he wouldn't let Bai Su hurt her, then she would believe him. The next day, early morning, after Yun Luofeng finished her breakfast, she was escorted to the academy by Yun Xiao. But not long after they left, Yao Mingqi sneakily walked to the entrance of the house. Her hand lightly knocked on the door a few times but no one answered. She pondered for a moment, then leaped over the wall and entered the house from the outside. What's that smell? It smells so good. As soon as Yao Mingqi entered the courtyard, she smelled a fragrant aroma. She followed the aroma into the dining room and saw the leftovers on the table that hadn't been cleaned up in time. There are only 2 bowls and 2 pairs of chopsticks. Looks like I was right. This man lives alone with his son. There is no mistress. Yao Mengqi was very happy with her discovery. However, these dishes were made by that man? She didn't expect that although this man looked so cold, his mind was so meticulous. The food he made was very light and suitable for women. If I can become his wife, I will definitely be very happy. I really don't know what kind of woman doesn't know how lucky she is. Yao Mengqi felt indignant for Yun Xiao. At this moment, she picked up a piece of pastry from the plate and placed it in her mouth to taste it. Instantly, her eyes lit up. She had been pampered since she was young and had tasted all kinds of delicacies. However, none of the delicacies could compare to the pastries in front of him. Who let you in? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out from behind Yao Mengqi. It was filled with a dense killing intent. Chapter 1233. Yao Mengqi's body stiffened. She stiffly turned her head and looked at the man standing outside the dining room. She gulped with difficulty. I was worried about your son, so I came to see him. I didn't mean to sneak into your room. Her eyes were filled with tears as she stared at Yun Xiao aggrievedly. She spoke uneasily. Yun Xiao's eyes slowly swept towards Yao Mengqi's hand and noticed that she had just taken a bite of the pastry. At this moment, killing intent surged from his body, covering the sky and covering the earth as it surged towards Yao Mengqi. You've eaten it? Yao Mengqi was scared silly. I've only eaten half a pastry. Why is this man so angry? Who allowed you to eat it? The man's voice became increasingly cold and murderous, causing Yao Mengqi's heart to tremble. I didn't do it on purpose. I was attracted by the fragrance and could not help but walk over. If you mind, I can return you a plate of pastry. Yao Mengqi hurriedly placed the pastry in her hand on the table. She anxiously rubbed the corner of her clothes as tears shimmered in her eyes. She did not know what she had done wrong. The man raised his hand and a powerful force slammed into Yao Mengqi's body. Yao Mengqi spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground in a sorry state. She stared at Yun Xiao in terror. That's right. This man wants to kill me. Why? Just because I've eaten a piece of pastry? I really didn't do it on purpose. Please let me go. I'll return you a whole plate of pastry. Yao Mengqi was so frightened that she stumbled back. Her terrified eyes stared at the man's cold and handsome face. Auntie. Right at this moment, a soft and mellow voice sounded from behind Yun Xiao. Xiaomo's eyes held a smile. Don't you understand? This plate of pastry is not something you can eat. Yun Xiao, this petty man, would only give everything he has to Yun Luofeng. How could he allow anyone else to have a share? Even if the other party had only eaten a piece of pastry, Yao Mengqi bit her pale lips. It's only a piece of pastry, is there a need for that? Even though the pastry is delicious, it's not particularly precious. Is there a need to kill me over a piece of pastry? I'm from the West Continent Academy. In order to save her life, Yao Mengqi hurriedly reported Western Continent Academy. Indeed, upon hearing these words, Yun Xiao paused for a moment. Of course, he only paused for a moment because Yun Luofeng was in the Western Continent Academy. But in Yao Mengqi's eyes, she thought that Yun Xiao was afraid of the West Continent Academy's power. Young master, please let me go. I am from the Western Continent Academy. If you let me go, I will repay you in the future. Yao Mengqi raised her teary eyes and begged bitterly. Yun Xiao's cold gaze once again landed on her face. Western Continent Academy? So what? Western Continent Academy? So what? Was there a need for him to put her in his eyes? Yao Mengqi's expression changed once again. She did not expect that Yun Xiao would look down on the West Continent Academy. She gritted her teeth and said, Young master, I did not mean to enter your mansion today. That was because I was worried about the little young master. Plus, I am also worried about you. Please forgive me for my rashness. Xiaomo stared blankly. This woman was really interested in Yun Xiao? His gaze shifted and he said with a grin, Auntie, are you interested in my father? Yao Mengqi was a little uneasy. She wanted to look at Yun Xiao but did not dare to look at him directly. She could only lower her head and rub the corner of her clothes. Chapter 1234. Unfortunately. Xiaomo paused. My father doesn't like you. Yao Mengqi was stunned. She raised her head to look at Xiaomo and blinked in confusion. Why? In any case, she had stood up for him when he was being abused. Logically speaking, shouldn't this child want a mother who can protect him? Why would she say such cruel words? My father only loves my mother. Do you think that you can beat my mother with your charm? Xiaomo sneered. This woman really doesn't understand the situation. At the very least, she had stood up for him because she was being bullied. That was why he didn't say anything. Now she doesn't know what's good for her and wants to replace Yun Luofeng's position? Dream on. Yao Mingqi wasn't angry when she heard this. Instead, she hated Yun Xiao and Xiaomo even more. Look at that damned woman. She abandoned her husband and child, but her husband and child still can't forget about her. Why doesn't a bolt of lightning strike her to death? Father. Xiaomo blinked and turned to look at Yun Xiao. He blinked furtively. I want to play with this auntie, can I? Yun Xiao, who had wanted to kill Yao Mingqi, retracted his murderous aura and nodded coldly. As you wish. Thank you, father. Xiaomo's smile was bright and he said father very smoothly. Yun Xiao glanced at him. Remember to set up a formation around the house. I don't want anyone to break in again. Breaking in was one thing, but she actually dared to eat the pastries he made for Yun Luofeng. Yun Xiao stopped in his tracks. That's right, make her spit out what she just ate. After throwing this sentence down, Yun Xiao walked out without looking back. Only Xiaomo and Yao Mingqi were left in the dining room. Yao Mingqi crawled up from the ground and her pale face lit up with a flattering smile. Little master, I offended your father because I spoke up for you. Can you let me go now? Let you go? Xiaomo sneered. Why should I? Indeed, you misunderstood that he was abusing me, so you stood up to help me. I can't say that you're wrong about this. I can only say that you're too stupid. I don't have any scars on my body. How can you tell that my father beat me up? Yao Mingqi's expression changed. This man was not what she had imagined. Everything that happened before was all a misunderstanding of his own. But you made the biggest mistake. Not only did you steal my father's pastries, but you even had wishful thinking about him. Little Mo raised her chin and said arrogantly, I've seen a lot of women like you, but those women didn't live long. Yao Mingqi's eyes darkened. Brat, now that your father isn't here, don't be too presumptuous. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Just as she finished speaking, she saw Yun Xiao, who had once again appeared at the entrance of the dining hall. Her expression changed drastically and she laughed dryly. Young master, I was only trying to scare the little master just now. Yun Xiao didn't seem to hear her words and continued walking towards her. Young master, you. Boom! Yun Xiao punched Yao Mingqi's back. In an instant she felt the urge to vomit. She opened her mouth and spat out the pastries that she hadn't digested in time. You talk too much. Yun Xiao looked at Xiaomo. By the time you're done, her pastries will have been digested. Chapter 1235. Xiaomo's mouth twitched. She was unlucky to have met such a petty man like Yun Xiao. Bang! However, just when Yao Mingqi thought Yun Xiao would leave, Yun Xiao's leg had already landed on Yao Mingqi's back. Yao Mingqi was caught off guard and fell head first onto the ground. Her head happened to be covered in her own vomit. Father, what are you doing now? Yun Xiao thought for a moment and said, I just remembered that your mother doesn't like people dirtying her territory. If she finds out when she comes back, she will definitely be angry. So let her lick it clean. When Yao Mingqi heard this, she thought that Yun Xiao was still waiting for the heartless woman to return. However, Yun Xiao said that Yun Luofeng would be angry when he came back at night. Father, do you think that it's a waste for her to eat the pastries and want her to spit them out? But now that you're forcing her to eat them, isn't that the same as letting her taste the pastries? Xiaomo was speechless. Yun Xiao thought for a moment and said, Take her out and let her vomit outside. That way your mother won't be angry. At this moment Xiaomo pitied Yao Mingqi. After offending Yun Xiao, her fate was destined to be miserable. Yun Xiao looked coldly at Yao Mingqi, who was trying to get up. He lifted his leg and stepped on her head, forcing her to lick the vomit clean. Even though it was Yao Mingqi's own vomit, she felt her stomach churn. It was extremely disgusting. Father, after she finishes vomiting, should we kill her? Xiaomo made a throat-slitting gesture as his eyes flashed coldly. It was as if killing was as easy as eating to him. Her blood will dirty the courtyard and your mother won't like it. Yun Xiao frowned. So we'll cut off the tendons in her arms and legs and throw her out. All right. Xiao Mo agreed. Since her legs will sneak into other people's homes and her hands will steal other people's belongings, there's no need to keep her. Why not just cripple her? The conversation between the two made Yao Mengqi's heart grow colder. She had seen many men in her life, but this was the first time she had seen such a cruel and heartless man. No, I don't want it, please let me go. Yao Mengqi cried miserably. Her voice was very sorrowful and pitiful. If she had merely snuck in, Yun Xiao would not have been so cruel. But what could he do? First, she had secretly eaten his pastries, and now she was delusional about him. Just based on this point, it was impossible for him to let her go. Yun Xiao did not even look at Yao Mengqi as he grabbed her by the collar and dragged her out of the house. No matter how much the other party cried and screamed, his expression did not change in the slightest. He had promised her. As long as there were any peach blossoms, he would break them and not leave a single one behind. First, Yun Luofeng's strength stirred up a storm in the entire academy. Then, another violent hurricane swept over. It was said that Yao Mengqi, the 9th disciple on the heaven list, had her hands and feet broken by someone outside and had already become a cripple. When he found out about this, Yao Mengqi's master flew into a rage. He swore to find the person who crippled his disciple. But, in the face of her master's questioning, Yao Mengqi seemed to be stunned. She stared blankly at the roof beam, her eyes lifeless. However, just as everyone was in a state of shock, another piece of news came out. It was said that Yao Mengqi's hands and feet were not clean. She had sneaked into someone's house and stolen their belongings, which resulted in her hands and feet being crippled. As for the person who had crippled her, it was not widely known. Chapter 1236. Go and investigate. Investigate immediately. I want to know who dared to touch my disciple. In the study room, Yao Shu angrily slammed his palm on the table and shouted angrily, anyone who hurts my disciple, I will make them die a horrible death. Other than being his disciple, Yao Mengqi was also his illegitimate daughter. Because there was a tigress at home, he had arranged for Yao Mengqi and her daughter to stay outside. It was also because of this that he felt so indebted to Yao Mengqi. Elder. The people below looked at Yao Shu carefully and said, everyone in the world is saying that Mrs. Hands and feet are not clean, that's why she was crippled. Bullshit. My disciple was pampered and had everything she wanted. Why would she need to steal other people's belongings? Yao Shu's eyes were spitting fire. Someone must be framing us, you must get to the bottom of this. Yes, Elder. Everyone cupped their fists and replied respectfully. At this moment, an old man beside Yao Shu pondered for a moment, then asked, Elder Yao Shu, do you think this matter was done by Su Kong and the others? After all, the headmaster has always been elusive. I haven't seen him for many years. Now that the Western Continent Academy has returned to the two great sects, our two great sects have been fighting endlessly. I think that Su Kong and the others are the biggest suspects. A ruthless light flashed across Yao Shu's eyes. If I find out that it was Su Kong and the others who hurt my daughter, I will definitely make them die a horrible death. In front of these people, he no longer called Yao Mengqi his disciple, but instead called her his daughter. Other than a few people, many people in the outside world did not know about the relationship between him and Yao Mengqi. I don't think that's possible. Another old man was silent for a moment. No matter how much Su Kong and the others fight with us, they wouldn't do such a thing that would provoke public anger. Humph! Yao Shu coldly snorted. What's impossible? You don't know a person's face. Out of the 10 people on the heaven list, 6 of them are in our hands, and they only control 4 people. Therefore, they must want to eliminate some of our disciples. Furthermore, Mengqi is my daughter, so of course she became their first target of revenge. Yao Shu gnashed his teeth in hatred. He was even more certain that other than the few people in the void, no one else would have the strength and courage to do such a cruel thing. Not only did they cripple her daughter, they even slandered her for having dirty hands and feet. Why would her own daughter covet the money of others? Compared to the West Continent Academy, which was in constant turmoil, Yun Luofeng was not affected in the slightest. At this moment, she was holding a dual invitation in her hand. She raised her eyebrows and looked at the delicately crafted dual invitation seriously. I knew it. It's definitely over. And Zihao stood beside Yun Luofeng and muttered, of all the people you could have challenged, why did you challenge Hu Lin? Senior brother Hu Li has issued a challenge to you. If you agree to it, you'll surely suffer his revenge, and if you don't, you'll be viewed as a coward. Why should I agree? Yun Luofeng casually threw the letter of challenge away. His lips curled into a smile. I have no interest in accepting the challenge. The reason he challenged the disciples on the Earth ranking was so that he could stay in the academy. Since she could stay, why should she continue to fight? But if you don't accept the challenge, Hu Li will come looking for trouble with you. And Zihao was deeply worried. No matter what, he did not want Yun Luofeng to be in any danger. Chapter 1237. I don't want to accept the challenge, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of him. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. You can go back first. I'm going to start cultivating. All right. And Zihao stood up helplessly. Miss, let's go. Little Loli blinked her eyes and held in Zihao's hand as they walked out of the room. The moment the door closed, little Loli turned to look at Zihao. Brother Zihao, you're too wordy. I think she knows what she's doing. Miss, that's a genius on the heaven list. Do you think Miss Yun can handle him? And Zihao sighed. He frowned and became even more worried. Little Loli turned to look at Yun Luofeng's closed door. Her large eyes shone brightly. I have confidence in her. Even little Loli herself didn't know where this confidence came from. However, she knew that Yun Luofeng wouldn't be at a disadvantage. And Zihao grew increasingly worried. However, he was too weak and couldn't do anything, let alone help Yun Luofeng. I'm hungry, brother Zihao. Little Loli was afraid that Zihao would continue chattering and hurriedly changed the topic. She blinked her large, watery eyes as she spoke. Seeing little Loli's gaze, and Zihao's heart melted. He hurriedly said, Miss, I'll take you to eat now. All right. The little Loli smiled. Her smile was innocent and pure. It was as bright as the sun, shining into the dark hearts of those people. You said that Yun Luofeng rejected the challenge? Inside the exquisite and luxurious room, Hu Li heard the person's report. His pair of fox-like eyes narrowed. Since she rejected my challenge, then I'll personally go meet this girl. Yes, brother Hu Li. After this person finished speaking, Hu Li had already stood up. He walked out of the room and headed in Yun Luofeng's direction. Yun Luofeng had just entered a state of cultivation when she heard footsteps coming from outside the room. She suddenly opened her eyes. At the same time, the room's door was pushed open. The moment she saw the man, only one word appeared in her mind. A stunner. That's right. No matter what word was used to describe a man, it was not as fitting as the word stunner. Yun Luofeng? The man raised his eyebrows and stared at Yun Luofeng, who was sitting cross-legged. A cunning light flashed in his eyes. Hu Li. Yun Luofeng looked at the man and asked calmly. I like your expression very much. Hu Li narrowed her eyes slightly. I just don't know if I like your strength as well. Yun Luofeng paused. Whether or not I can make you like me, what does that have to do with me? If there's nothing else, don't disturb my cultivation. I want to fight you. Hu Li drew his sword and pointed it at Yun Luofeng. At this moment, there were already many disciples surrounding the room. When they saw Hu Li coming to cause trouble for Yun Luofeng, their eyes flashed with interest. I'm busy. However, in the face of Hu Li's arrogance, Yun Luofeng merely replied with a single word. What if I insist on fighting you? Hu Li's eyes flashed with a dangerous glint as she raised the corners of her lips and asked. Yun Luofeng closed his eyes and no longer paid any attention to this annoying man. However, the colder Yun Luofeng's attitude towards him, the more excited he became. Yun Luofeng, fight me. If you win, you can set any conditions you want, Hu Li said excitedly. If I win, I want you to be my subordinate for 3 years and wait for my orders. Chapter 1238. Yun Luofeng slowly opened his eyes, and his devilish gaze landed on Hu Li. You really want to fight me? That's right, Hu Li raised his chin. If you don't agree today, I will pester you until you do. All right, Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment. If I win, I also want you to be loyal to me for 3 years. How about it? Hu Li was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly burst into laughter. Interesting, this is really interesting. All right, I promise you. As long as you can beat me, forget about being your subordinate for 3 years. What's wrong with 10 years? All right, Yun Luofeng replied. Don't forget what you said. If I win, you will be loyal to me for 10 years. Hu Li's laughter was suddenly blocked in his chest, choking him until he could not help but cough. His handsome face turned red. This woman really knew how to climb up a pole. He had only casually said it and 3 years had become 10 years? But who asked him to bring it up? He could only grit his teeth and swallow it down. All right. 10 years it is. Hu Li gritted his teeth and said. Then when do we start fighting? Now. After the storm caused by Yao Mengqi, another storm swept through the academy. The genius Hu Li, who was ranked 10th on the heaven list, was actually going to fight with a new student. Especially the bet between the two, whoever lost would have to be loyal to the other. This was simply unheard of. Of course, many of the academy's disciples thought that Hu Li was bullying Yun Luofeng. After all, with Yun Luofeng's strength as a saint spirit, it was impossible for him to be Hu Li's match. The martial arts arena was a boiling cauldron of voices, and the inside and outside were filled with people. On the stage of the martial arts arena, a young girl dressed in snow-white clothes exuded an evil aura. Her fine black hair fluttered without any wind, and she was peerlessly moving. In front of the young girl was a man of peerless elegance. The man's fox-like eyes contained a cunning light, and a smile appeared on his jade-like face. His eyes were filled with interest as if Yun Luofeng, who was in front of him, was an interesting plaything. Senior brother Hu Li is very strong. This woman will definitely lose miserably. In the academy, senior brother Hu Li's beauty is obvious to all, and his strength is extraordinary. If I can marry such a man, I can die without regrets. The women's eyes were filled with red hearts as they stared unblinkingly at the man's perfect face. If they could become a woman by Hu Li's side, they would wake up laughing even in their dreams. Yun Luofeng. Hu Li raised his eyebrows and looked down at the young girl standing in front of him. Remember our bet. If I win, you will serve me for 3 years. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. I'm afraid you won't have that chance. Boom. At this moment, both of their auras surged out at the same time, creating quite a storm in the arena. Ha ha. Hu Li laughed maniacally, his black hair dancing in the wind. Yun Luofeng. Do you believe me when I say that the winner of this battle will definitely be me? One was a strong cultivator who had already broken through to become a saint king, while the other was a high-level holy spirit. Their strength could not be compared at all. Therefore, not only did Hu Li have such confidence, even the others felt that it was impossible for Yun Luofeng to win this battle. Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually became more serious. The difference between a holy spirit and a saint king was not just a difference in level but a difference in quality. However, she would not lose no matter what. Chapter 1239. Yun Luofeng, take out your weapon. Hu Li looked at the empty-handed Yun Luofeng and the corners of his lips curled up. I never fight with empty-handed people. Yun Luofeng did not hesitate and took out his sword from his spatial ring and held it tightly in his hand. You're ruffians, what? Hu Li asked in surprise as he glanced at Yun Luofeng's left hand. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. My left hand is enough to deal with you. The young girl's voice was extremely arrogant, but it also angered Hu Li. His long and narrow eyes were tinged with a mocking smile. Then don't blame me for not giving you a chance. As soon as he finished speaking, Hu Li's body leaped and shot towards Yun Luofeng like a bolt of lightning. It's over. Below the arena, and Zihao hurriedly covered his eyes, not daring to look at this cruel scene. No matter how strong Yun Luofeng was, he could not possibly be Hu Li's opponent. So the ending was within everyone's expectations. Although senior brother Hu Li is ranked 10th on the sky list, his speed is the fastest out of everyone here. Even the top few on the heaven list would need to expend some effort to fight him. With just this speed, senior Hu Li can fight with a middle stage Saint King. Even a middle stage Saint King cannot escape from his attack, let alone Yun Luofeng. The crowd discussed animatedly as they looked at Yun Luofeng with sympathy. However, facing Hu Li who was about to enter her, Yun Luofeng slowly closed her eyes. Everyone thought that she had been scared silly and did not even have the courage to look at Hu Li, let alone resist. No one knew that the current Yun Luofeng had become a world of her own. Back then, the scenes in the celestial spirit mirror flashed through her mind in a flash, causing her to become extremely calm. It was so calm that only the sound of the wind could be heard. What is she doing? In the arena on the viewing platform, Mu Ran lowered his head in surprise and looked at Yun Luofeng, whose eyes were lightly closed. His eyes were filled with doubt. Ji Yin, the hall master of the beast-taming hall, fell silent. After a while he said, "If Hu Li wants to compete on the heaven list with his speed, even the 5th place might not be able to defeat him. Even if the opponent is stronger than him, to be honest, even I might not be able to capture all of Hu Li's movements." Because Hu Li did not want to compete on the heaven list, after he reached the 10th place, there was no more movement. If I'm not wrong. Ji Yen paused and continued. She gave up on observing Hu Li's movements with her eyes and chose to use her ears to distinguish sounds. Mu Li's ears to distinguish sounds in a battle? He could not do such a dangerous thing. One had to admit that Yun Luofeng, this girl's guts were not small. "Muran, is this the little girl that Chun Yuqing recommended to you?" Ji said. Ji Yen luo out Ji Li. Yen Yen Ji Ji's Ji Li Yun Luo of Hu Ji said Li Ji of Yun Luofeng's attainments as a spiritualist are so high. Don't join in the fun. Mu Ran, so what if I'm the hall master of the beast-taming hall? Who set the rule that only beast-taming disciples can exist in the beast-taming hall? Anyway, I've taken a fancy to this girl. How about you trade a flame blood lion for her? I won't trade. Mu Ran scoffed. Even if you trade a dragon and a phoenix for her, I won't trade. She's a good seedling. If you train her well, she'll be more precious than any treasure. Chapter 1240. Ji Yen pursed his lips, feeling very regretful in his heart. Why did this kind of seedling choose to go to a Spirit Master's Academy? And the outstanding disciples that the Spirit Master's Academy nurtured were all provided for the morning hall. Pity, truly a pity. Such a genius had missed him by a hair's breadth. Wind. The whistling sound grew louder and louder. Hu Li's expression was originally one of disapproval. But when she saw that Yun Luofeng had dodged her attack, shock flashed across her beautiful face. The surrounding crowd was stunned as well. They'd thought that Yun Luofeng would definitely be defeated in one move, but she'd actually dodged it? Their eyes must be playing tricks on them. How could Yun Luofeng have dodged Hu Li's attack? Everyone hurriedly rubbed their eyes and forced them open, but all they saw was the completely unharmed girl in white standing on the stage. This time the girl simply tore off a piece of her sleeve and tied it over her eyes. The corners of her lips curled into an evil smile. That's enough, let's continue. Those 3 months of training in the Sky Spirit realm weren't completely useless to her. For the people of the world, their eyes were extremely important. If they couldn't see the battle clearly, they would inevitably return in defeat. But for her, her eyes had already become a burden at this moment. It was very easy for the eyes to be confused by the scenery of the outside world, and what they saw might not be true. However, the ears would always be able to distinguish the true direction. Yun Luofeng. Hu Li narrowed her fox eyes slightly, and her smile was very sinister and cunning. You're different from anyone I've ever met. And the more you're like this, the more I want you to become my follower. After saying these words, Hu Li moved again. His figure was still as fast as lightning, and there were rows of afterimages following behind him. Yun Luofeng felt the whistling sound of the wind and leaned to the side, narrowly dodging Hu Li's attack. At the same time, the sword in her hand descended from the sky and chopped downwards. Boom! The stage was instantly chopped into two, and dust filled the air. Yun Luofeng quickly flashed behind Hu Li, and his long sword chopped downwards again. Hu Li sensed the threat behind him, and turned around, using his sword to block the long sword. Bang! The shockwave spread out from the two of them. It was so strong that the disciples near the arena were sent flying, falling to the ground in a sorry state. Yun Luofeng took 2 steps back and a mouthful of blood came from her throat. She forcefully swallowed it down, and the smile on her lips contained a trace of coldness. Even if she had broken through Hu Li's speed, there was still a huge gap between the two of them. If this continued, she would definitely not be Hu Li's opponent. Similarly, Hu Li also took 2 steps back in the face of the storm. He shook his somewhat numb arm and narrowed his fox-like eyes. His gaze gradually turned solemn. It looked like he had underestimated this girl. Her strength was definitely not just that of a high-level holy spirit. On the viewing platform, Mu Ran gazed at the 2 people below, and his brows knit together lightly. Ji Yin, who do you think will win between these two? Ji Yin went silent and then he shook his head. If it was before the competition, I would definitely say it's a fool. There's no suspense between a saint king and a saint spirit. But now I notice that I'm slightly unable to see through it. Thinking of this, Ji Yin laughed self-deprecatingly. He had lived for so many years, yet he was unable to distinguish between a saint spirit and a saint king. If word of this got out, many old fellows would probably laugh at him. The battle between the two of them attracted many onlookers. Chapter 1241. Wang Yizhi and his nephew were also standing in the crowd, glaring at Yun Luofeng viciously. This damned girl dared to attack me, and now she has offended Hu Li. Her good days are over. Wang Mujing gritted his teeth in hatred. He had thought that Yun Luofeng would be expelled from the steward's hall according to the school rules for beating up his uncle. Who would have thought that the hall master of the morning hall would actually defend a woman like Yun Luofeng? He even suggested that she would be exempted from punishment if she entered the earth roll within 5 days. He did not think much of it at first. Entering the earth roll within 5 days? How was that possible? A new student could never do that. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, Yun Luofeng challenged a genius on the earth roll in a single day and even defeated him. Moreover, her strength as a holy spirit was revealed to everyone. So what? Yun Luofeng could have challenged anyone, but she chose Hu Lin. Who didn't know that Hu Lin had a younger brother on the heaven roll? Just as he had expected, Hu Li immediately came to cause trouble for Yun Luofeng after finding out that her brother had matured. Ha ha ha! Wang Mujing could imagine Yun Luofeng's miserable ending, and could not help but laugh out loud. His laughter was sinister and cruel. Yun Luofeng, you have to pay the price for being too arrogant. In the crowd, apart from Wang Yizhi and Zihao, there was also an old man who was looking at Yun Luofeng anxiously. This old man was none other than the old man who had been in charge of the registration, and had introduced Yun Luofeng to the other elders. An elder's disciple is in conflict with Hu Li. Logically speaking, I should go and tell the other elders, but the elders have recently been overwhelmed by a matter. If I let them worry about this matter, I'm afraid it will affect the progress of that matter. The old man wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Forget it, I'll take a look at the situation first. If Miss Yun is really in danger, I'll inform the elders in time. This disciple of the elders was really good at stirring up trouble. First she beat up Wang Yizhi, then she challenged a genius on the earth roll causing a commotion. Now she even accepted Hu Li's challenge. However, the old man did not expect Yun Luofeng to be a holy spirit. She really hid her strength well. The old man smiled helplessly. He didn't know what kind of uproar it would cause if the elders found out about this. Boom! On the arena a storm was brewing. Yun Luofeng took another 2 steps back. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and stared at Hu Li with her deep black eyes. Hu Li was not as peerless as he had been before. He appeared to be in a rather sorry state, and his expression was one of extreme fury. Yun Luofeng, are you a holy spirit or not? How could a holy spirit unleash such power? And Zihao was dumbfounded. He did not expect that Yun Luofeng would force Hu Li to such an extent. Hee. Suddenly, Hu Li laughed coldly. He propped himself up on the arena and the aura around his body grew stronger and stronger. A storm spread out from his body, and it was so powerful that it made people feel extremely oppressed. Yun Luofeng, I have indeed underestimated you in the beginning. Now, I want to know if you will be able to receive this attack of mine. Not good. Mu Ran was shocked when he saw Hu Li's actions. Quick, stop him. Otherwise, the Yun girl will definitely not be able to withstand this attack. At the very least, she will be crippled. As soon as he finished speaking, his body shot towards Hu Li and Yun Luofeng like a bolt of lightning. Chapter 1242. The surrounding crowd could feel the surging power from Hu Li's body. They were so suppressed that they couldn't even utter a word. They could only stare dumbfounded at the 2 people in the arena. Mu Ran's expression became increasingly anxious. Unfortunately, it was too late. Just as he was about to reach Hu Li's power exploded and swept towards Yun Luofeng like a hurricane. Boom! A strong explosion resounded throughout the entire arena. So much so that the arena was blown into a pile of ruins. Mu Ran stopped in his tracks and stared in shock at the dust rising from the arena. A raging flame rose from his body and his bloodshot eyes turned towards Hu Li. Hu Li, do you know how to control your strength? This little girl is someone I've taken a fancy to. How dare you kill her? Hu Li was also dumbfounded. He had thought that Yun Luofeng would be able to escape this calamity. Who would have thought that she would not be able to escape? How could this be? His original intention was not to kill this woman. He just did not want to lose to her. Miss Yun. And Zihao cried out anxiously. 2 streams of tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Miss, it's all our fault. We've dragged her down. In the beginning, if they hadn't offended Wang Mujing, Yun Luofeng wouldn't have become enemies with Wang Mujing, Wang Yizhi wouldn't have made things difficult for her, and she wouldn't have beaten Wang Yizhi up in public. In this way, the following incident would not have happened. For a moment, feelings of self-blame and guilt filled in Zihao's heart, causing it to tremble. Ha ha ha! Wang Mujing laughed maniacally. His laughter was filled with madness. She's dead. She's finally dead. This woman has offended me. She won't have a good ending. When Zihao heard Wang Mujing's laughter, his eyes became like a jackal's and a leopard's as he turned angrily towards Wang Mujing. Shut up! Wang Mujing sneered. Little trash, who are you yelling at? Without Yun Luofeng to support you, you're just a bunch of good-for-nothings. Ha ha ha! These words caused Zihao's suppressed emotions to explode in an instant. He pounced towards Wang Mujing furiously and bit him on the shoulder. Ah! Wang Mujing screamed. Quick, help me chase this little bastard down. In an instant, the surrounding people rushed over to pull Zihao away from Wang Mujing. However, Zihao bit Wang Mujing's shoulder tightly and refused to let go. Little bastard! Wang Yizhi's eyes turned cold and he slapped his palm on Zihao's shoulder. In an instant, Zihao's body flew out like a kite with a broken string and crashed heavily into the crowd. At the same time, he tore off a piece of flesh from Wang Mujing's shoulder and blood kept flowing. Beat him! Beat this little bastard to death. Due to his relationship with Wang Yizhi, Wang Mujing was often followed by a group of followers. Now that they heard the angry words, those followers quickly rushed forward and punched and kicked Zihao, who was lying on the ground. Zihao was in so much pain that he curled up into a ball, refusing to make a sound no matter what. Brother Zihao! Tears welled up in the little lowly's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She pushed through the crowd wanting to rush in front of Zihao. Unexpectedly, a foot reached out from the side and tripped her. Little thing, you'd better behave yourself. Wang Mujing pressed on his bleeding shoulder and walked to the little lowly. He lifted her up and smiled sinisterly. Zihao is definitely going to die. Yun Luofeng is also dead. You'd better come with me. Chapter 1243. The little girl's face was filled with stubbornness. Her bright eyes were filled with resentment as she glared at Wang Mujing. You still dare to be stubborn? Slap! Wang Mujing raised his hand and slapped the little girl's face. In an instant, a blood-red mark appeared on the little girl's pink cheek. Even so, the little girl did not cry. Her bright eyes were fixed on Wang Mujing without fear. Young mistress! Zihao's heart ached. His hands clenched into fists as he felt powerless. He had caused Yun Luofeng's death. He was unable to protect young mistress. What was the point of a useless person like him living? At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the arena. No one paid any attention to Zihao and the little girl. Even if they had paid attention, they would not have helped them. In the arena, smoke and dust scattered in all directions. Hu Li stared blankly at the ruins of the arena in front of him. He still could not believe that he had really killed that young girl. However, at this moment, the smoke and dust that had covered everyone's eyes gradually dissipated, revealing the scene above the ruins. They saw a beautiful young girl standing above the ruins. Her white robes were stained with dust and part of her sleeve had been torn off. The young girl's arm was bleeding and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her originally fair face was now somewhat dirty. The white cloth covering her eyes had also fallen off and floated in the breeze. In an instant, the crowd quietened down. Wang Mujing's maniacal laughter came to an abrupt halt. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief and stared in shock at the young girl standing above the ruins. She's not dead? This woman who should have died was actually still alive? Wang Mujing gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with intense hatred as he stared fixedly at Yun Luofeng. If looks could kill, Yun Luofeng's body would have been riddled with holes. So you're still alive. Hu Li's heart finally calmed down. I knew that this move of mine would not be able to kill you. Yun Luofeng, you're very strong. I concede defeat. Admitted defeat? The crowd's eyes widened in shock. Hu Li, who was ranked 10th on the heaven list, admitted defeat? Remember your promise. Serve me loyally for 10 years. Yun Luofeng wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth. Her gaze slowly swept downwards and she saw Zihao, who was surrounded and beaten up by those people, and the little loli, who had a clear 5-fingered mark on her face. Wang Mujing grabbed the little loli's body and took a few steps back. Yun Luofeng, don't come over. If you come over, I'll kill her. Yun Luofeng acted as though he hadn't heard Wang Mujing's words and continued walking towards him. I'm not joking with you. If you dare to take another step forward, I will really kill her. Wang Mujing gritted his teeth. He saw that Yun Luofeng did not show any signs of stopping. He instantly took out a dagger and placed it on the little loli's neck. Miss! And Zihao's heart almost skipped a beat. His eyes were filled with anger and anxiety. Wang Mujing, stop. If you dare to touch Miss, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. The little loli didn't have much of a reaction. She blinked her bright eyes and looked at Yun Luofeng without blinking. She was fine, that's great. If something really happened to her, Brother Zihao and I would definitely regret it for the rest of our lives. Yun Luofeng, you forced me to do this. Chapter 1244. Wang Mujing gritted his teeth fiercely. He knew that Yun Luofeng would not let him go. Since that was the case, he would make the first move. Thinking of this, he raised the dagger in his hand and stabbed it fiercely towards the little girl's chest. Just as the dagger was about to stab into her chest, a strong pressure came from the front, causing his fingers to stiffen. The dagger could no longer move forward. Instantly, his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Yun Luofeng with a pale face. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had already walked in front of the little girl. His slender fingers gently stroked her delicate face as he lowered his gaze and asked, "Does it hurt?" The little girl shook her head and said in a childish voice, "It doesn't hurt. Compared to Brother Zihao, it doesn't hurt." "Do you want to kill him?" Yun Luofeng continued to ask. The little girl was stunned. She looked at the pale Wang Mujing behind her and nodded. "Yes, they bullied Brother Zihao. I want to kill them." Her voice was still immature, but it was filled with determination. "All right, I'll give you the sword. Go kill them." Yun Luofeng handed the sword in his hand to the little girl. "Remember, don't show mercy to those who bully you." The little girl's hand trembled as she took the sword from Yun Luofeng's hand. She turned around and stabbed the tip of the sword towards Wang Mujing's chest. "Jinga!" Wang Yizhi shouted angrily. "Yun Luofeng, you will get what you deserve. You will definitely get what you deserve." As soon as Wang Yizhi finished speaking, the little girl's sword had already pierced Wang Mujing's chest. At this moment, she felt refreshed all over. It was something she had never felt before. So, killing an enemy would give her such a thrill. Wang Mujing's eyes widened as his body gradually fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with fear. Just now he had wanted to dodge, but under Yun Luofeng's pressure, he couldn't even move a finger. He could only watch as the sword, which emitted a cold light, entered his chest. Everyone in the arena was dumbfounded. No one had expected Yun Luofeng to actually dare to kill someone on the spot. Those who are kind will be bullied by others. Yun Luofeng acted as if he did not see those people's shocked gazes. He lowered his gaze and said, "If you don't want to be bullied by others, you have to become strong. Kind people get bullied." The little girl nodded her head sensibly. "From now on, I won't be bullied anymore. I have to protect myself and Brother Zihao." And Zihao was only her bodyguard, but he had accompanied her for many years. In her heart, he was already like family. Hearing the little loli's tender voice, and Zihao's emotions became somewhat complicated. In his heart, his young miss had always been naive and innocent. He would never let her worry about her livelihood, let alone let her come into contact with the evils of the human heart. No matter how hard and tired he was, He would not let her suffer in the slightest now that he thought about it. Was his way of thinking all along wrong? What if one day he left the young miss forever? How would the young miss, who had no ability to survive on the mainland? Sigh. Mu-Ran smiled bitterly. This girl's temper is as fierce as what Chan Yuqing said. She is not willing to suffer any losses. But now she's actually teaching a little girl how to kill people. Jian said with some schadenfreude. Mu-Ran, I won't fight with you over this girl. With her personality, she will definitely attract a lot of trouble. It's better for you to follow behind her and clean up. Oh, that's right, you have to help her solve the current situation first. Chapter 1245. Just as he finished speaking, a stern voice rang out from outside the noisy crowd. Get out of the way. Everyone get out of the way. After hearing this voice, everyone subconsciously opened up a path, allowing the armored people behind them to pass. Among those people, the leader was a middle-aged man with a serious expression. He slowly walked in front of Yun Luofeng and said expressionlessly, Yun Luofeng, you are extremely audacious. You dare to kill someone in public. Immediately, we will go to the penal court to be punished. Wait. Huli leaped and landed in front of Yun Luofeng when she saw that the people were about to take Yun Luofeng away. Yun Luofeng has already entered the Heaven List and is a disciple of the Heaven List. How dare the Stewards Hall capture her? Once she entered the Heaven List, her status would change greatly. Even the Stewards Hall leader would not be able to touch her. Lord Tianyu, you have to uphold justice for my nephew. Wang Yizhi reacted and quickly rushed to Meng Tianyu's feet. He said tearfully, my nephew died unjustly. You have to uphold justice for us. Meng Tianyu's eyes darkened and he sneered at Yun Luofeng. So what if she defeated you? The Stewards Hall has the right to take her back. Even if we don't have the right to punish her, we can hand her over to the elders. Are you trying to say that a disciple of the Heaven List has more power than an elder? Furthermore, our academy has not recognized her as a disciple of the Heaven List. This meant that the academy had not recognized her, and she was not a disciple of the Heaven List. The Stewards Hall had the right to take her back. Huli narrowed her eyes and sneered as she stood in front of Yun Luofeng. It doesn't matter if you don't recognize her. I've been in the Heaven List for 3 to 5 years. I don't know if I have the right to make you go back based on my status. Meng Tianyu's eyes darkened. Huli, do you really want to make an enemy of the Stewards Hall? Make an enemy? Huli smiled and said sarcastically, are you even worthy? In an instant, Meng Tianyu's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, Mu-Ran was already standing next to Yun Luofeng. Meng Tianyu, this Yun Luofeng is already a member of our morning hall. I'm afraid it won't be that easy for your Stewards Hall to capture a disciple of our morning hall. Mu-Ran wore a faint smile on her face as she looked at Meng Tianyu with an indifferent gaze. Meng Tianyu's face darkened once more. Not only did Huli protect a mere Yun Luofeng, but even the hall master of the morning hall was biased towards her. Huli, Hall Master Mu-Ran, I will go back and report to our hall master. Then, he will make a decision. Let's go. Meng Tianyu waved his hand and led a group of people from the Stewards Hall away. After Mu-Ran saw Meng Tianyu leave, he retracted his gaze and smiled bitterly at Yun Luofeng. Did you really have to kill him on the spot? Can't you just bear with it? No. Yun Luofeng's words silenced Mu-Ran. He shook his head helplessly, and the smile on his face became even more bitter. Moreover, he was the one who attacked first, threatening me with Aurelia's life. Aureli? This name is really strange. Mu-Ran was stunned for a moment, and his face was filled with speechlessness. The little loli was also stunned. She weakly explained, my name is not Aureli. My name is Ji Fei. And Ziheo, take her back first and let her recuperate from her injuries. Leave the rest to me. Yun Luofeng glanced at the little loli, then turned to Nziheo and spoke. Nziheo crawled up from the ground, his face filled with guilt. I'm sorry, Miss Yun. We've dragged you down again. Chapter 1246. Brother Ziheo, let's go. The little girl pursed her lips slightly and looked at Yun Luofeng with her big bright eyes. I will remember your words. In the future, I will not continue to be so weak. She looked at Yun Luofeng one last time, turned around and supported Nziheo as they walked out, gradually disappearing from her sight. Do you need any help? Mu Ran looked at Yun Luofeng and asked with a bitter smile. No need. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin as a dangerous light flashed across his slightly narrowed eyes. I can handle it myself. The elders in the academy were divided into two factions. Similarly, the elders' office was also divided into the east and the west. The elders' office, where Su Kong and the others were, was in the east. At this moment, a panicked figure appeared outside the elders' office. When he saw the people guarding the door, he ran over and said while panting, Quickly inform the elders something has happened. Steward Jean, the elders are busy and have given the order that they will not see anyone who comes to disturb them. The guard at the door frowned slightly and refused the old man's request. The old man wiped the sweat from his forehead. Hurry up and inform the elders. Otherwise it will really be too late. Tell the elders that something has happened to Miss Yoon. When the guard saw the old man's panicked look, he thought for a moment and said, I will inform the elders, but whether they are willing to see you or not is not something I can decide. The atmosphere in the elders' office was very strict. Many elders sat upright, their faces filled with helplessness and worry. The people from the Continent Lord's mansion have just given the order for everyone above the Holy Spirit stage to encircle and kill the Ghost Emperor. Su Kong rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. It is said that those who had gone before were all killed by the Ghost Emperor. Ling Hai's expression was very ugly. We have been busy with that matter recently, yet there are still people who think that we are not free enough. Furthermore, we do not even know the Ghost Emperor's strength, and yet we are sending ourselves to their doorstep. Isn't that courting death? Those old fellows in the West Elder Hall have already agreed. Now only we are left. Void, I think it's best if we don't get involved in this mess. Shuang frowned slightly as she tapped her finger on the table. After all, this Ghost Emperor managed to escape from the pursuit of so many people. He even grew to his current state. His fear is definitely beyond imagination. It would be great if the headmaster came back. Unfortunately, the headmaster has been gone for so many years, and there is still no news of his whereabouts. The expressions of the elders grew more and more worried. During the time that the headmaster wasn't around, there wasn't even a person in charge. Elders! Suddenly, a voice came from outside the door, causing Su Kong and the others to frown. Didn't you say that you're not allowed to disturb us if there's nothing wrong? Who allowed you to come in? Su Kong's face darkened as he scolded sternly. A layer of cold sweat appeared on the guard's forehead. Elders, Butler Jean is here to seek an audience. He said that Miss Yoon is in danger. What? With a loud bang, Ling Hai smashed his fist on the table. He stood up angrily. My precious disciple is in danger? Who has the guts to lay a hand on my disciple? Let Manager Jean in immediately. Yes, sir. After he finished speaking, the guard retreated. Not long after, the old man hurriedly rushed in from the door. In an instant, the gazes of the 5 elders all landed on the old man. Chapter 1247. What happened? Su Kong's expression darkened. What danger did Feng encounter? The old man looked at the 5 elders carefully. Elders, Miss Yoon returned not long ago. However, Wang Yiji deliberately made things difficult for Miss Yoon in order to avenge his nephew. Wang Yiji? That bastard again? Ling Hai's eyes were filled with anger. Why did Wang Yiji have the chance to cause trouble for my precious disciple? Didn't I arrange for Wang Yiji to go somewhere else? This. The old man wiped his sweat and continued. I don't know what happened either. The hall that Wang Yiji brought is where Miss Yoon is. He is certain that Miss Yoon did not apply for leave and wants to expel her from the academy. If Miss Yoon does not want to leave, she must endure 100 lashes from him. Ling Hai clenched his fists tightly as he gritted his teeth. Wang Yiji, who gave him the guts to hit my disciple? Shui Ying and the others stood up anxiously. How is Miss Yoon? Did Wang Yiji injure her? Wang Yiji injured Yun Luofeng? The old man laughed bitterly when he heard this. Yun Luofeng was a Holy Spirit practitioner. How could Wang Yiji possibly injure her? Elders, don't worry. Miss Yoon is not injured. Instead, she injured Wang Yiji. Hearing this, Shuang heaved a sigh of relief. She rubbed her chest and slowly exhaled. It's good that she's not injured. I was almost scared to death. Wang Yiji, that bastard, is really audacious. I'll settle the score with him later. What's next? Su Kong continued to ask. Wang Yiji reported Miss Yoon to the steward's hall. The people from the steward's hall wanted to punish Miss Yoon. It was Hall Master Mu Ran who spoke up for Miss Yoon. However, the people from the steward's hall thought that Miss Yoon was at fault. In the end, they came to an agreement. If Miss Yoon can make it to the earth roll within 5 days, they'll let her go. What? Ling Hai, who had just sat down and had yet to take a sip of tea to calm himself down, slammed the table and stood up when he heard this. Make it to the earth roll within 5 days? My disciple is quite talented. Unfortunately, she hasn't started cultivating yet. Aren't they forcing her? By the way, you said my disciple injured Wang Yiji? As far as I know, Wang Yiji is a venerable spiritualist. How did my disciple injure him? The old man wiped his sweat again. Miss Yoon has already made it to the earth roll. Puff. Su Kong had just taken a sip of tea when he spat it out because of these words. Emptiness, who was sitting opposite him, was more unlucky. He was sprayed all over his face and his face was filled with resentment. Did you just say that the Yoon girl has charged up the earth roll? Shui Ying was stunned as she asked in disbelief. The old man nodded. She made it to the earth roll, but the person she defeated was Hu Lin, the brother of the heaven rolls Hu Li. Su Kong narrowed his eyes. Did Hu Li take revenge for his brother and injure my disciple? He would never let off anyone who hurt his disciple. No. The old man shook his head and said. Hu Li challenged Miss Yoon to a fight, but in the end, he admitted defeat. Admit defeat? The elders looked at each other, and the shock in their eyes deepened. Hu Li fought with Yun Luofeng but admitted defeat? Could it be that Yun Luofeng was stronger than Hu Li? Steward Jean. Hurry up and tell us what happened. Shui Ying frowned and continued to ask. Chapter 1248. Who was it that dared to touch our disciple? A cold light flashed across Shui Ying's eyes and her voice was extremely cold. Elder Shui Ying, Yun Luofeng has 2 friends in the academy. Wang Mujing thought that Yun Luofeng had died in Hu Li's hands, so she injured Yun Luofeng's friend. Yun Luofeng wanted to settle the score with Wang Mujing, but who knew that Wang Mujing would capture her friend and use her friend's life to threaten him? So, the old man didn't say anything else, but the 5 elders understood what had happened. Humph. Ling Hai scoffed. Wang Mujing was courting death, she can't blame anyone else. My disciple did not do anything wrong. Could it be that the people from the duty hall are going to settle the score with my disciple? That's right. The elder nodded. The people from the duty hall are going to pursue the matter. That's not right. Shui Ying frowned slightly. My disciple defeated Hu Li and was able to enter the heaven list. Why would the people from the duty hall have the guts to look for her? The elder looked at the elders carefully. The people from the duty hall said that the academy will not recognize Miss Yun's identity. Ha ha ha. Ling Hai laughed maniacally. Since when did the duty hall have the right to make decisions in the academy? How dare they bully my disciple? I will make them pay the price. Boom. Ling Hai punched the wall, creating a huge hole in it. Immediately after, his figure rushed out of the hole. Let's go too. Shui Ying's beautiful eyes darkened. After all, I'm not dead yet and someone dares to bully me. These people from the duty hall are too much. Just as the elder went to call for reinforcements, the people from the duty hall found Yun Luofeng again. This time it was the leader of the duty halls Zhuo Wen. Perhaps it was because of Mu Ran and Hu Li, but they did not forcefully escort Yun Luofeng. Instead they invited her over. When Hu Li and Mu Ran received the news, Yun Luofeng had already left with the people from the duty hall. At this moment, in the penal hall that was filled with torture devices, Zhuo Wen sat high up on a black wooden chair. His expression was stern as he looked at the young girl below and said in a cold voice, Yun Luofeng, do you know your crimes? The girl's demonic aura was awe-inspiring as a smile appeared on her beautiful face. Her body was languid and evil as she lifted her eyes to look at Zhuo Wen. Your steward's hall invited me here as a guest. Is this the attitude of a guest? Not even a chair? Zhuo Wen's eyes sank and he said in a cold voice, Yun Luofeng, what kind of place do you take my duty hall to be? Let me tell you, today you can only live if I want you to live. If I want you to die, you must die. Yun Luofeng lazily raised the corner of his lips. How many gifts did Wang Yiji give you? Zhuo Wen was stunned. His face was filled with anger as if someone had seen through him. He shouted, Yun Luofeng, my duty hall has always been impartial. Let alone the fact that you're not a disciple of the heavenly role. Even if you're in the heavenly role, as long as you make a mistake, I have the right to punish you. The academy was a place that focused on geniuses. Therefore, as long as one entered the heaven ranking, his authority would be higher than the hall masters of the various halls. But there was one exception, that was, the academy was not allowed to kill fellow students, even if they were geniuses on the heaven roll. If a genius on the heaven roll made a mistake, the duty hall also had the right to punish them. Someone, drag Yun Luofeng away and punish him severely with a branding iron. Yes. After Zhuo Wen's words fell, two people immediately stepped forward and tried to stop Yun Luofeng's body. However, before the two of them could touch Yun Luofeng, there was a bang. A wave of energy surged out of her body and forced the two of them back a few steps. Chapter 1249. Get lost. The girl's thin lips parted slightly, her evil eyes sweeping over the two people she had pushed back. Her beautiful face was cold. Yun Luofeng. Zhuo Wen stood up angrily. Did you think I invited you here just to be a guest? I just tricked you into coming to the criminal court. When you get here, you won't be able to call for help. No one can save you. Yun Luofeng raised her hand and pulled the iron torture chair to her side. She flicked her sleeves and sat down. She propped her head up with the back of her hand and looked at Zhuo Wen with a faint smile. Then do you think you can punish me? Lazy, evil, cold, domineering. These 4 words could not be more suitable to describe the young girl today. Zhuo Wen's eyes narrowed with anger. He slammed his palm on the table and stood up angrily. Yun Luofeng, I'll show you now if I can punish you. In an instant, the power in Zhuo Wen's body surged and he quickly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Stop! Mu Ran hurriedly rushed in from outside. When he saw Zhuo Wen attack Yun Luofeng, his old face immediately became furious. His figure flashed and he quickly rushed in front of Yun Luofeng, raising his hand to block Mu Ran's attack. Boom! The two palms collided and Zhuo Wen took a few steps back. His expression darkened and became hazy. Mu Ran, I advise you to mind your own business. Ha ha! Mu Ran sneered and flicked his sleeves, standing in front of Yun Luofeng. Then I'm really going to mind my own business. Zhuo Wen sneered. So you're going to protect the woman who committed the murder. Although it was the little lowly who killed Wang Mujing, it was Yun Luofeng who ordered it. Wang Yizhi also put all the blame on Yun Luofeng. As for the little lowly, as long as Yun Luofeng was dead, wouldn't she be at his mercy? Zhuo Wen, if Wang Mujing hadn't wanted to kill him first, he wouldn't have been killed. Everything has a cause and effect. Why do you put the blame on the Yun girl? Mu Ran flicked his sleeves, looking like a sage. In my opinion, let's just forget about this. The Yun girl didn't do anything wrong. Humph. Zhuo Wen's eyes were gloomy. If I don't punish her, and word gets out, people will think that our West Continent Academy has no rules. A life for a life, no matter if she's on the heaven roll or earth roll. Since you said that a murderer should pay with his life, and Wang Mujing was the one who attacked first, is he not at fault? Mu Ran furrowed his brows and felt a little angry in his heart. You said Wang Mujing made the first move? Zhuo Wen sneered. Then is she dead? She and that little girl didn't die, so what right does she have to kill Wang Mujing? Mu Ran took a deep breath. He decided not to waste any more words with Zhuo Wen. He turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Yun girl, leave this place first. I'll take care of this for you. Yun Luofeng smiled devilishly and stood up lazily from her chair. Her lips curled into an angle as she looked at Zhuo Wen with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Mu Ran, he wants to kill you. Mu Ran was stunned and looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. He wanted to kill Zhuo Wen? What was going on? Since when did he want to kill him? Yun Luofeng continued to smile and said, he wanted to kill you a long time ago. You Mu Ran. Zhuo Ran flew into a rage and turned to Mu Ran angrily. You actually want to kill me? Then I'll kill you first. Let's see how you're going to kill me. Chapter 1250. Mu Ran was dumbfounded. Could he say that he was innocent? But Yun Luofeng did not give Mu Ran the chance to speak. She shrugged and continued. What you're doing is a little inhumane. Mu Ran only wanted to kill you. He didn't actually kill you. I think it's better for you to make peace. Yun Luofeng spoke with sincerity. No one could see any lies on her face. Make peace? Dream on. How could I give him a chance to kill me? Zuowen gritted his teeth. Mu Ran, you wanted to kill me. Even if the elders of the college stop me, I must kill you today. Yun Luofeng laughed. Her laughter was exceptionally clear in the quiet penal court. I was just joking just now, but... She paused, her eyes turning slightly. You also know that if someone wants to kill you, you have to strike first and not give them any chance to make a move. Why is it that when it comes to others it changes? Zuowen's expression abruptly changed. Only now did he realize that Yun Luofeng had set a trap for him. Yun Luofeng. He roared and rushed towards Yun Luofeng again. Murderous intent surged from his body, as if he wanted to kill the girl with one blow. Wang Yizhi appeared out of nowhere. His venomous eyes stared at Yun Luofeng, who was suffering from Zuowen's attack. There was a cold light in the corners of his eyes. Yun Luofeng, you killed my nephew. If I don't avenge him, I am not a man. Yun Luofeng looked coldly at Zuowen, who was closing in on her. Her expression did not change. Her beautiful face still had an evil smile. Stop! Boom! In an instant, an angry roar suddenly sounded. It was like a drumstick hitting Zuowen's chest. In an instant, his body was thrown into the air. Fresh blood flowed out of his mouth. He raised his terrified eyes and looked at the group of elders who were striding in from outside the door. His face turned from pale white to astonishment, and his eyes were filled with deep astonishment. Elder Sukong, Elder Ling Hai. Why are you here? Zuowen didn't know what was going on when he saw these people charging at him furiously. His mind buzzed and he didn't understand how he had offended these elders. Ling Hai dashed forward and kicked Zuowen, who had just crawled up, into the air. His face was very ugly and his anger was overflowing. Zuowen, how dare you? Who allowed you to set up a private punishment in the steward's hall? Especially, he even dared to lay his hands on a weak girl? Zuowen was dumbfounded. He was just punishing a disciple. How did he attract these old fellows? Could it be that Huli went to invite them? Furthermore, the weak girl that Elder Ling Hai spoke of, was she really Yun Luofeng? If this woman was a weak woman, then there wouldn't be any evil women in this world. Thinking of this, Zuowen took a deep breath. He suppressed the panic in his heart and explained, Elders, listen to me. What Huli said is only his side of the story. Don't believe him. This woman dared to commit murder in public. She has committed a heinous crime and should be punished with death. Therefore, I am only punishing her according to the rules of the academy. Elders, you will definitely investigate this matter and decide who is right and who is wrong. You won't be blinded by some treacherous people. The treacherous people that he spoke of were people like Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1251. Ling Hai laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with anger. Zuowen, you still dare to shirk responsibility at a time like this? He gritted his teeth and glared at Zuowen. You should quit your job as the hall master of the steward hall. Pack up the shop and get lost. Zuowen's mind was blown. He didn't understand why Ling Hai wanted him to get lost. Just because he took care of Yun Luofeng? Elder Ling Hai. Zuowen wanted to continue defending himself, but he saw that the elders were already walking towards Yun Luofeng. My precious disciple, are you hurt? Don't worry, I will definitely get revenge for you. When Ling Hai said this, he turned around and glared at Zuowen. Rumble. Zuowen felt as if his brain had been struck by lightning. His face was full of shock. Yun Luofeng was Ling Hai's disciple. Was this a joke? How could this be? But what shocked Zuowen even more was that Ling Hai's concern for him made the other elders look at Yun Luofeng nervously. Fenger, did Zuowen hurt you? If he hurt you, the 5 of us will definitely not let him leave. You are our disciple, but you were bullied when we weren't paying attention, and you were even brought to the penal hall. If we don't get revenge for you, if word gets out, where will the 5 of us put our faces? The more the 5 elders spoke, the angrier they became. All of their sharp gazes shot towards Zuowen. Zuowen was completely dumbfounded. He originally thought that Yun Luofeng was at most Ling Hai's disciple, but according to the current situation, the 5 elders were all his masters? Oh my God! He had offended all the elders of the East Courtyard. Wang Yiji took 2 steps back, his face extremely pale. He turned around and wanted to escape, but at this moment, a nightmarish voice made his body freeze. Where do you think you're going? Su Kong was expressionless as he looked coldly at Wang Yiji. Wang Yiji wiped the sweat off his forehead and smiled awkwardly at Su Kong. Elder Su Kong, this matter has nothing to do with me. It was all my nephew's fault. Please let me go this time. If I knew that Yun Luofeng was your disciple, I wouldn't dare to do it even if I had 100 guts. Let you go. Void sneered. You made such a big mistake, why should I let you go? From tomorrow onwards, I'll let Steward Jean take over the steward's hall. Your crimes will be judged by him. Thump. Wang Yiji's legs went soft, and he fell heavily to the ground. He knew that he had no way out this time. Elder Void. Suowen gritted his teeth. You want to remove me from my position, do the elders of the West Courtyard agree? Void looked at him coldly. Can't you just hand over your resignation? Why is Elder Su Kong so sure that I will hand in my resignation letter? Suowen clenched his fists tightly. If he left the academy, he would not have a better future. Therefore, he would definitely not be willing to hand in his resignation letter. Void raised his eyebrows. Hand in your resignation letter yourself, or from tomorrow onwards the world will know that you died of a heart attack. 2 paths, choose for yourself. Suowen's body swayed a few times, and finally fell to the ground. His face was extremely pale, and his eyes were filled with despair as he stared deeply at the elders in front of him. Ling Hai rubbed his nose. For the first time he realized that Void was so black-bellied. If Suowen wanted to live, he could only hand in his resignation letter. Otherwise he wouldn't mind killing him. Chapter 1252. Tomorrow, I will hand in my resignation. After saying these words, Suowen felt all the strength in his body disappear, and he lay on the ground weakly. Why didn't you do this earlier? Shui Ying's beautiful eyes swept past Suowen's body and landed on Yun Luofeng. She smiled and said, Yun girl, we will take care of this matter. You have also suffered a lot of shock. Go back and have a good rest. Yun Luofeng nodded. She took one last look at the elders, turned around and walked out. To be honest, the reason why Yun Luofeng came to the penal hall was because she had the ability to protect herself. However, the appearance of the elders still touched her heart. Huli stood at the door. He had arrived late, but he had seen everything that had just happened. Hence, when he saw Yun Luofeng walking towards his door, he laughed involuntarily. Yun Luofeng, I didn't think that you would be the disciple of the academy's elders. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks. Even without the masters, no one can stop me from killing someone if I want to. Isn't the purpose of a person's life to seek revenge? How could she suppress herself? Huli smiled. I realize that I am becoming more and more interested in you. Perhaps I won't be too bored following you for the next 10 years. In the beginning, Huli felt sad that he had sold himself for 10 years. But now he realized that if he stayed by Yun Luofeng's side, his days in the future would be very exciting. At this moment, the elders of the West Courtyard were investigating the murderer because of Yao Mangqi's incident. When they came back to their senses, the steward's hall had already changed owners. They wanted to settle the score later, but everything was already a foregone conclusion. They could only swallow their anger. So one of the steward's hall was personally trained by Yao Shu. Now that he was chased out of the academy and Steward Jean was promoted, how could he not be angry? Hence, his hatred towards the East Courtyard grew stronger and stronger. Before returning home, Yun Luofeng purposely changed her clothes and healed the injuries on her body. Even so, when Yun Xiao saw her for the first time, his breathing suddenly tightened. You're injured. Yun Luofeng was startled. She had already healed most of her injuries, but the man before her eyes could still see through her. I just fought with someone. It's nothing serious. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips and slowly walked towards Yun Xiao. She reached out and gently wrapped her arms around the man in front of her, burying her head in his chest. Yun Xiao, let's have a baby. Children. Those 2 words caused the light in Yun Xiao's eyes to gradually soften. He raised his hands and hugged the young girl tightly. After a while he finally reacted and furrowed his brows. Don't change the subject. Tell me who hurt you. Murderous intent surged from his body, and a cold aura arose spontaneously. Yun Luofeng believed that if he said Hu Li's name, he would definitely rush to the Western Continent Academy and tear that fox-like man into pieces. I'm fine now. Don't worry. I didn't lose this battle. Yun Zhao's eyes stared intently at Yun Luofeng. I know that you want to rely on your own strength to fight, but when the time is right, you can rely on me. My power exists to protect you. I do not wish for you to suffer any injuries. All right. Yun Luofeng lifted her head and kissed the man's lips. Suddenly, she seemed to have discovered something and slightly narrowed her eyes. Did someone come today? Chapter 1253. Yun Luofeng has always been very sensitive to smells. Hence, the faintly discernible fragrance wafting out from the courtyard caused a cold glint to flash across Yun Luofeng's eyes. Yun Xiao nodded honestly. A woman sneaked into our house and secretly ate the pastries I made. However, I've already made her spit them out and crippled her. Perhaps she was afraid that Yun Luofeng would be angry. Yun Xiao hurriedly explained. I didn't let her dirty our territory. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as he narrowed his eyes. Looks like I can't leave your side in the future. Otherwise, who knows how many women will want to seduce you? They can't. In this world, the only person who can get close to him is Yun Luofeng. Yun Zhao's eyes darkened and a light flashed across his grim eyes. However, no one knew what he was thinking. The next day, after Yun Luofeng had breakfast, she headed to the academy. Yun Xiao stood at the doorway as he watched her leave, his deep and serene eyes unable to see the bottom. Yun Xiao, are you thinking of going to the academy to find master? Little Mo had unknowingly walked up from behind him. Her large, bright eyes blinked slightly as she looked at Yun Xiao curiously. Yun Zhao's gaze became even colder. I'm worried about her. Little Mo blinked. It's already past the registration period. You can't go to the academy even if you want to. As if she had not heard Little Mo's words, Yun Xiao strode out. After a long while, a grim voice rang in Little Mo's ears. Follow me. Little Mo curled her lips and hurriedly chased after Yun Xiao, disappearing under the bright sunlight. As Yun Luofeng had defeated Hu Li of the Heaven Roll, he had successfully entered the Heaven Roll. As a disciple of the Heaven Roll, he did not need to attend classes and only needed to stay in the cultivation room to cultivate every day. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had just sat down in his room and had not even had time to cultivate when a clamor sounded from outside the door. What's going on? She stood up from the mat and walked towards the door. The moment she opened the door, she saw a fair-skinned and handsome young man standing in front of her door. As soon as he saw her, he got straight to the point and said, Yun Luofeng, I saw your battle with Hu Li yesterday, so I came to look for you. You also want to challenge me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and looked at the youth's handsome face. The young man blushed. No, I'm not here to challenge you. I'm here to confess to you. Farewell? Yun Luofeng was stunned for a moment. His brows furrowed slightly. I'm not interested. After saying that, she was about to close the door. Wait. The young man hurried forward and extended his hand to stop Yun Luofeng from closing the door. His face was filled with sincerity. After watching your battle yesterday, I realized that you're the most domineering woman I've ever seen. Especially the scene of you dealing with Wang Mujing, it made me very excited. Yun Luofeng, you can give me a chance. Do you want to scram yourself? Or do you want me to help you? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows, his domineering eyes sweeping over the young man's blushing face. The young man wanted to continue speaking, but at this moment, an enchanting voice rang out from behind him. Yuzija, you already have a fiancé and you still want to pester Yun Luofeng? Hu Li waved his fan and walked over with a face full of smiles. He slowly walked to Yun Luofeng's side and winked at her. Even if Yun Luofeng accepts me, he'll never accept you. Chapter 1254. Yuzija's expression was a little awkward. My fiancé has nothing to do with me. It was decided by my parents, but I have the right to pursue my true love. You know him? Yun Luofeng ignored Yuzija and turned to look at Hu Li. The person ranked first on the Earth list. Hu Li said in a low voice. He's only half a step away from becoming a holy king. As for his fiancée, he paused, then continued. She's ranked second on the Earth list. Although both of them are on the Earth list, their families are very powerful in the Western continent. Oh. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and turned to enter the room. You know him. You deal with him for me. Hu Li's mouth twitched. As a little follower, he had to deal with his master's suitor? Cough cough. Hu Li coughed dryly. You Zizha, you should go back. Don't bother her. Don't forget, you already have a fiancé. Yu Zizha looked at Yun Luofeng, who had entered the room, and sighed softly. He turned around and left with a helpless expression. But this would not make him give up. No matter what, he would move Yun Luofeng. Early in the morning, because of Yu Zizha's actions, Yun Luofeng was once again embroiled in rumors. The entire academy was saying that she had taken a fancy to Yu Zizha's family. That was why she had seduced Yu Zizha and snatched his fiancé away. A woman like this, no matter how talented she was still disdainful. At this moment, Yun Luofeng's cultivation room was surrounded by a group of women. The leader of those people was a beautiful woman. At this moment, she had her hands on her hips and was glaring angrily. Yun Luofeng, don't think that you're great just because you entered the heaven list. Wasn't that because Hu Li let you go? But it's not enough that you seduced Hu Li. You even dared to seduce my fiancé. Get out here immediately. That's right. In her eyes, the person who had lost that battle might not have been Hu Li. If Hu Li had not let her go, she might have been beaten to the ground. Scram! The door to the room was blown open by a gust of wind, and a force shot out from within. Even though he quickly used his sleeves to block it, he was still pushed back a few steps by this force. The anger in her chest became even more intense. Yun Luofeng, isn't it enough that you have Hu Li? Why don't you let my fiancé go as well? I know, Hu Li's family can't compare to my fiancé's, so you want to capture these two men in your hands. How can there be such a cheap woman like you in this world? Bang! The door was opened once again, and a girl in snow-white clothes strode out. For some reason, the moment the woman saw the white-robed girl, she felt her breathing tighten, as if a rock was pressing down on her body. Yu Zizha's fiancé? The young girl lifted her chin slightly, looking down at the group of people in front of her. Her eyes were filled with arrogance, and her deep black eyes were filled with dominance. Go back and tell Yu Zizha not to bother me. People like him, I don't like them. The woman's expression changed drastically. If she said that she didn't like her fiancé, wouldn't that be insulting her? Yun Luofeng, who do you think you are? Is the heaven list that amazing? Let me tell you, as long as I want to enter the heaven list, I can beat you down at any time. You actually dare to look down on my fiancé. Chapter 1255. Senior sister Zhuiyun is right. Senior brother Yu is already outstanding enough. How dare you look down on him? He's the only one who looks down on you. You have no right to be picky. Is it reasonable for you to seduce someone else's fiancé? The group of women behind Zhuiyun spoke up one after another. They all glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. Clearly, in their eyes, Yun Luofeng was an unforgivable evil. Zhuiyun! Yu Zizha, who had rushed over after hearing the news, saw Zhuiyun standing in front of Yun Luofeng. His expression changed drastically. He hurried forward and said angrily, "What are you doing here? This has nothing to do with Miss Yun. I'm the one who has taken a fancy to her." Zhuiyun's eyes reddened when she saw Yu Zizha's protection of Yun Luofeng. She felt so wrong that tears were about to fall. What's so good about this woman? Why are you protecting her? Shut up. Yu Zizha raised his hand and slapped Zhuiyun harshly. Zhuiyun was stunned by this slap. She raised her head in disbelief and stared at Yu Zizha, as if she hadn't expected that he would ruthlessly slap her because of Yun Luofeng. You hit me? Zhuiyun touched her flushed face as tears fell from her eyes. Yu Zizha did not look at Zhuiyun. He turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, this is my fault. I apologize to you. I never thought that Zhuiyun would cause trouble for you. Believe me, this will not happen again. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. A dangerous arc flashed across her narrowed eyes. Next time? Do you think there will be a next time? Yun Luofeng looked at Yu Zizha and asked, Yu Zizha, I don't believe that you will fall in love with me because of my battle with Hu Li. Tell me, what is your motive? Yu Zizha's expression froze. A trace of panic surfaced in his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He smiled and said, Miss Yoon, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? I do have feelings for Miss Yoon. I have no other intentions. Furthermore, it's understandable that you won't accept me. However, I have confidence in myself. Mother. Just as Uzija was about to continue expressing his feelings, a soft voice came from behind him. When Yun Luofeng heard this voice, her body suddenly stiffened. She raised her head, and when her dark eyes saw the two people, one big and one small, slowly walking over, the coldness on her face gradually dissipated. The man's black robe fluttered in the wind. He was cold and murderous, and his handsome face was expressionless as if he had facial paralysis. Just by standing in front of this man, one would be instantly crushed by his powerful aura. However, everyone's gaze slowly landed on the little boy beside the man, who looked like he was carved out of jade. The little boy looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. He was exceptionally cute, and his big bright eyes were like stars shining with a dazzling light. When he saw Yun Luofeng, a brilliant smile broke out on his face. He opened his arms wide and rushed into Yun Luofeng's embrace. This time Yun Xiao did not stop him. His gaze was fixated on the young girl's peerlessly beautiful face from beginning to end as his figure was reflected in his black pupils. Mother? This little boy was addressing Yun Luofeng as mother? Mother, you left father and me at home. Father and I are very lonely, so we came to find you. Xiaomo's eyes flickered a few times. She looked at the stiff-faced Uzija with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Who is this fellow? Is he another fly that has been circling around you? Chapter 1256. Aside from Yun Xiao, all the other men around Yun Luofeng were like flies to little Mo. Why are you here? Yun Luofeng held little Mo in his arms as he looked at Yun Xiao. His lips curled into a smile. Little Mo wanted to follow you, so I brought him here. Little Mo rolled his eyes in his heart when he heard Yun Xiao's words. Yun Xiao was obviously the one who wanted to find Yun Luofeng, yet she had pushed him out. However, little Mo did not expose Yun Luofeng. He smiled and said, I missed my mother, so I asked my father to bring me to find you. Over the past few years, little Mo had been calling her mother more and more smoothly. He had even used this method to chase away many of Yun Luofeng's pursuers. After all, no matter how outstanding those people were, they could not compare to Yun Xiao. Cough cough. Uzija coughed dryly and said awkwardly, Miss Yun, so you thought you were married? Yun Luofeng raised his brows and swept his cold gaze towards Uzija. I don't care what your motives are. If you plan to hurt me or the people around me, I will not let you off. From the moment Uzija had appeared, she knew that this man was not simply pursuing her. There was a secret in his heart that could not be divulged. Uzija's expression became even more awkward. He did not say another word and hurriedly left. Uzija. Zhuiyun stomped her foot and was about to chase after him when a cold voice suddenly rang out from behind her. Who allowed you to leave? Zhuiyun's body stiffened. She turned around and gritted her teeth. This is the West Continent College, what do you want? You humiliated him with your words, so there's no need for you to keep your tongue. Ah! Zhuiyun had just screamed when a force entered her mouth. She felt a sharp pain on her tongue and blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Get lost. The man waved his sleeves in a cold and domineering manner. The moment he waved his sleeves, a shockwave spread out and sent those who were blocking Yun Luofeng's path flying. Yun Luofeng. Huli walked over from behind the crowd. Just as he was about to raise his hand to pat Yun Luofeng's shoulder, he came into contact with the man's cold and stern eyes. He was so frightened that he quickly withdrew his hand. I didn't expect that you're already married. Fortunately, I found out early. Otherwise, what if I fall in love with you after getting to know you better? Haha. Yun Luofeng knew that Huli was joking, so he did not take it to heart. On the contrary, Yun Zhao's cold eyes swept over him, and his grim black eyes were mixed with a warning. You won't have the chance to interact with her. Huli chuckled. That's not necessarily true. I'm going to follow her for 10 years. In these 10 years, I'm going to get to know her better. 10 years? Yun Xiao frowned and his gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng shrugged. He was the one who fought with me before. He lost to me, so he has to serve me for 10 years. Oh. Yun Zhao's eyes filled with killing intent once again turned towards Hu Li. The person who injured you was him? Hu Li's heart trembled when he came into contact with the man's gaze. A hint of astonishment flashed across his cunning fox eyes. If it weren't for the fact that you're going to serve Feng for 10 years, I wouldn't have let you off so easily just because you've injured her. After throwing these words, Yun Xiao retracted his aura and spoke in a grim voice. Once he had retracted his aura, Hu Li felt his entire body relax. Unknowingly, his back was already drenched in sweat. At this moment, in a corner not too far away, a woman saw the grim man standing next to Yun Luofeng and a sense of shock flashed across her eyes. Chapter 1257. Isn't that the father and son that Senior Mengqi met before? That day, they had followed Yao Mengqi back and witnessed the fight between Yao Mengqi and the father and son. Yao Mengqi concluded that this man must have been abandoned by his wife, which was why he was so angry and even abused his child. Unfortunately, the man's strength was too terrifying, so much so that Yao Mengqi did not dare to fight back. No, I must tell Senior Mengqi about this. The girl gritted her teeth and quickly ran in another direction. The room was exquisite and luxurious, the pink curtains fluttering in the wind. Yao Mengqi lay on the bed in a daze, her gaze fixed on the roof beam. A line of tears flowed from the corner of her eyes, emitting a sparkling luster. Senior Mengqi. Suddenly, an anxious voice came from outside the room, but it did not cause any change in Yao Mengqi's mood. Her eyes were still dull and gloomy. Senior Mengqi, guess who I just saw? The woman quickly ran in and said while gasping for breath. Do you still remember that day when we came back and found a child crying in a house? You went to check it out. Yao Mengqi's gaze finally moved from the roof beam to the girl's face. Just now I saw that father and son. The girl wiped the sweat from her forehead. Our academy's Yun Luofeng is that man's wife. Yun Luofeng? His wife. Yao Mengqi's hand on the bedsheet clenched tightly. Her heart felt like it was being torn apart. She could not help but gasp in pain. Wasn't he abandoned by his wife? Then why was his wife in the academy? Had she misunderstood all this time? Senior Mengqi. The girl carefully looked at the pale Yao Mengqi, not understanding what had happened. Yao Mengqi lowered her eyes and said the only thing she had said since she was crippled. I want to see Master. The girl was overjoyed. Okay, I'll go inform Elder Yao Shu now. She had finally made Senior Mengqi speak. If Elder Yao Shu knew, he would definitely reward her. Thinking of this, the girl quickly turned and left. She wanted to go to the west courtyard to inform Elder Yao Shu. Sure enough, knowing that his own disciple wanted to see him, Elder Yao Shu quickly ran over. His face was filled with heartache as he walked in front of Yao Mengqi. Mengqi, don't worry. I will find a doctor to treat you. Yao Mengqi clenched her fists tightly. Dad? Other than them, there was no one else here, so Yao Mengqi called him father. Her tears instantly flowed like a river, and a look of grievance appeared on her face. Mengqi. Yao Shu's heart ached. Tell me, who hurt you? Was it those old bastards from the void? Yao Mengqi shook her head. The one who injured me was Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng? Yao Shu was taken aback. Only then did he remember the storm that had been brewing within the academy recently. He asked hesitantly, You mean our academy's Yun Luofeng? It's her. Yao Mengqi's tears flowed down again. Previously, I saw her abusing her son. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I wanted to meddle in other people's business. Who knew that I would be chased away after being scolded by her? And yesterday, because I was worried, I wanted to enter her house to see if she was abusing her son again. Who knew that just as I entered I would bump into her? Mengqi, your strength isn't bad. Why were you crippled by her? Yao Shu frowned and asked. Chapter 1258. Yao Mengqi's pale face was filled with pain. Father, her son has been educated by her to become an ingrate. I risked my life to help her, but he used that innocent and pure appearance to confuse me. That's why I fell into Yun Luofeng's hands. Not only did she cripple me, she even framed me for stealing. I really didn't do anything. Her voice was hoarse and her face was wet with tears. However, this is not her obedient child. If that boy doesn't listen to her orders, she will definitely abuse him again. What? Yao Shu was furious and slammed the table. The veins on his face bulged. Yun Luofeng, that woman is so cruel. Not only did she abuse a child, she also hurt my daughter. Mengqi, don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. Father, I don't want her to die too early. I want her to feel the same pain that I did. Yao Mingqi lowered her eyes and a trace of ruthlessness flashed across her face. Her voice was hoarse. I'm going to find Yun Luofeng now. Yao Shu's eyes darkened. He didn't even have time to comfort his daughter before he quickly rushed out. Under the azure sky, the crowd had already dispersed. Yun Luofeng was just about to bring Yun Xiao into his room when an anxious voice called out from behind. Miss Yun. And Zihao stumbled over. His footsteps were anxious and his voice sounded like he was about to cry. My young mistress is missing. Era Lei is missing. Xiao Mo's reaction was even more intense than Yun Luofeng's. Quick, let's go find her. Yun Luofeng glanced at Xiao Mo and then at Zihao. Tell me what happened. And Zihao's expression changed. Just now, Miss wanted to go out to play, so I brought her. Who knew that in the blink of an eye, Miss would disappear? If I'm not wrong, the people there must have found Miss and kidnapped her. Miss Yun, please save my Mississippi. As long as you save her, I will do anything to repay you. After saying this, Zihao knelt on the ground and kowtowed fiercely. His head quickly turned purple, and blood flowed down his forehead. Yun Luofeng was his last hope. He could only hold on to him tightly. In this place, besides Yun Luofeng, no one else could help him. Let's go first. Tell me more about the situation on the way. And Zihao lifted his head and looked at Yun Luofeng in disbelief. According to his understanding of Yun Luofeng, this young girl had always stayed out of everything. Her willingness to help was simply beyond his expectations. After Yun Luofeng and the rest left, Yao Shu rushed to her cultivation room. However, she was told that Yun Luofeng and the rest had already left the academy. Instantly, he flew into a rage and issued an order to chase after Yun Luofeng, even if he was 1,000 miles away. Miss Yun, my family's young miss, was adopted by the patriarch and madam, but the patriarch and madam passed away very quickly. Now, the ones in charge of the Ji family are her uncle and aunt. Her aunt is what we often call a bad woman. That bad woman seized all of the Ji family's assets, and even the dowry that madam brought to the Ji family fell into her hands. Along the way, Zihao explained the situation to Yun Luofeng. His expression was anxious and his eyes were full of worry. That bad woman saw that Miss was cute and wanted to sell Miss to someone as a concubine. But my Miss is only 6 years old. To make her a concubine, isn't that forcing her to her death? So I ran away with the young Miss. In the end, that bad woman was so angry that she sent assassins to kill us. Chapter 1259. Since she has given up on making Ji Fei a concubine and wants to kill her instead, why is she still trying to capture her? Yun Luofeng glanced at Zihao and asked. Zihao shook his head. I'm not sure either. She's angry that Miss didn't listen to her, and she thinks that even if Miss marries over, it will still cause trouble for her. She plans to go all out and kill Miss. I don't understand why she wants to capture Miss. Are you sure that it was the Ji family who captured her and not Ji Fei who got lost? Yun Luofeng continued to ask, and Zihao shook his head with certainty. It's the Ji family. It must be someone from the Ji family. After I lost the young Miss, I asked around. They saw the young Miss being carried away by someone cute. In addition, I picked up a Ji family token on the road. From this, I concluded that it must be someone from the Ji family. On this mainland, everyone was in danger. No one would meddle in other people's business. Even if they saw a little girl being kidnapped in public, no one would stand up and say anything. Otherwise, if they angered those people, they would definitely suffer. And Zihao's expression became more and more anxious. He could imagine how terrified Miss must have been when she had been taken away. It's all my fault. And Zihao slapped his head fiercely. I didn't look after Miss well. Otherwise, Miss wouldn't have been taken away. There's no point in saying so much. The most important thing now is to find Ji Fei. Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened as a cold light flashed across them, and Zihao pursed his lips and said, Miss Yun, I came to find you with the intention of trying my luck. I had originally thought that you would reject me like before, so why did you choose to help us this time? Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks. She turned her back to Zihao and looked at the sky in front of her. Yesterday when I stood next to Hu Li, I was buried under the rubble. But I heard everything that happened in the arena. And Zihao was stunned and looked at Yun Luofeng in surprise. Back then, he had thought that Yun Luofeng had died in the arena, and he had already sunk into grief. But now, he had heard Wang Mujing's smug laughter. New hatred and old hatred had caused him to momentarily lose all reason, and he had gone to find Wang Mujing and fight him to the death. Was that why she was willing to help them? And Zihao's actions were not very big, but don't forget he was no match for Wang Mujing. If it weren't for the fact that Yun Luofeng was still alive, and Zihao would definitely have died under the attacks of Wang Mujing and the others. For a moment, and Zihao had mixed feelings. He also understood how foolish his actions of pestering Yun Luofeng in the past were. This woman would never take pity on them just because of their begging. It was very easy to get her help. As long as they treated her sincerely, she would repay them 100-fold. Thank you. And Zihao thanked sincerely. You don't have to thank me now. You can thank me after I rescue Ji Fei. After Yun Luofeng finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he quickly appeared 100 meters away. And Zihao suppressed the gratitude in his heart and hurriedly chased after her. Ji family. In the courtyard of Gaoting, a beautiful woman was sitting in a pavilion, elegantly sipping tea. At this moment, a guard walked in from outside the courtyard. He was carrying a sack on his shoulder. Inside the sack there was a constant whimpering sound. Chapter 1260. Thud. The guard threw the sack on the ground and joined his fists. Madam, I've brought her back. Very good. The beautiful woman slowly turned around and walked to the side of the sack. She lifted her foot and kicked the man who was struggling inside the sack. Her lips curled into a sinister smile. Why don't you keep running? Why don't you keep running? Men, untie this sack. This lady wants to have a good look at this little slut. Just as she spoke, a guard immediately stepped forward and took the sack. A little head poked out from the sack. Her large, bright eyes were filled with stubbornness as she stared fixedly at the people in front of her. Little slut, you dare to glare at me? The beautiful woman laughed icily and lifted the little Lolita from the ground. Her lips curled into a disdainful smile. I've said this before. Even if you want to run away, no matter how far you run, I will still be able to hunt you down. I've already given up on you, you little slut. I never thought that someone would be willing to pay a high price to buy you. You've been freeloading in the Ji family for so many years. It's time for you to earn something for me. She had originally intended to sell Ji Fei to an old man, but who would have thought that Ji Fei would fight back with all her might and even escape with Zihao's help? As for her, how could she let the master know what she had done? Hence, she had informed the master that Ji Fei had eloped with the guard. Ji Fei was only 6 years old. How could the master believe her words? She had sent men to look for Ji Fei, but how could she allow them to find her? Hence she had sent assassins. If someone had not come to the Ji family and offered to buy Ji Fei, she would not have given up on killing her. Sob sob. Ji Fei's mouth was covered with a piece of cloth and she could only whimper. She glared fiercely at the beautiful woman, unwilling to be outdone. You still dare to glare at me? The madam's eyes turned cold as she lifted Ji Fei's clothes and said, Ji Fei, I'm warning you. If the master asks, you will tell him that you've eloped with Zihao. If you dare to say a word, Zihao's life will be forfeit because of your mistake. The little Lolita's body stiffened and she clenched her fists tightly. Her eyes were filled with flames of anger. The beautiful woman had grasped her weak point. Brother Zihao was the only family she had left in this world. She would not allow anyone to hurt him. Men, untie her so that the clan leader doesn't discover anything. The beautiful woman coldly snorted and ordered expressionlessly. 2 guards stepped forward and cut the ropes on the little Loli's body. Then they removed the cloth from her mouth. The little Loli was finally able to breathe, and the first thing she said was to curse. Who is freeloading in your Ji family? My parents are the former patriarch and madam of the Ji family. They left me a lot of money. You guys took that money and still dare to say that I am a freeloader. The real freeloaders are you guys. The little Loli bit her lips tightly. This Ji family was single-handedly founded by her parents. On the contrary, her uncle and auntie relied on her parents to live. If it weren't for her parents, they would definitely be living precarious lives. However, in the end, they occupied his parents' property and still dared to insult him as a freeloader? Your parents? The beautiful woman sneered. Even though your surname is G, do you have the blood of the G family in your body? You're just a daughter that your parents picked up. Since they can't get pregnant, logically speaking, the G family should be managed by their biological brother. Could it be that the G family should be given to an outsider like you instead of his biological brother? Chapter 1261. I'm your father's sister-in-law. So what if I eat and drink in the G family? Who asked them to be blood-related brothers? Who do you think you are? I don't know where you picked up this wild girl. You're clearly a freeloader in the G family. The beautiful woman snorts and looks at little Lolita with a mocking gaze. Little Lolita's face turns red with anger. In the family tree, I'm my father and mother's daughter. Hearing little Lolita's words, the beautiful woman frowns slightly. This little girl dares to speak to her like this? In the past, in the G family, other than the matter of making her a concubine, little Lolita would never dare to go west if she told her to, let alone fight for her own interests. She's only left for a few months, but her temper has become so bad and hard. G-Fei, I'm in charge of the G family now. Everything in the G family is managed by me. If I say that you're a freeloader, then you're just freeloading here. And my G family doesn't intend to support a big living person like you. Little Lolita snorts. Zheogij and I are living outside and relying on ourselves. Why did you bring me back? You've lived in the G family for 6 years. Shouldn't you do something for this family? The beautiful woman slightly narrows her eyes. That lord used an extremely powerful spiritual beast and tens of millions of silver to buy you. For the G family, you must go. Little Lolita's body trembles slightly. 6 years? My father and mother have only died for a year. You actually said that you've raised me for 6 years? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen anyone in this world shameless to this extent. The beautiful woman sneers. That's because your father and mother were too stupid. They helped others raise their daughter, and they don't care about it. I don't want the G family to suffer. In these 6 years, which of your food and clothing wasn't paid for by the G family? You apprenticed to a master and learned martial arts because of my G family. My G family has raised you for so long. You must do something for us. She keeps mentioning the G family, treating herself as a member of the G family. As the daughter of the previous head of the G family, little Lolita is an outsider. Little Lolita's face turns pale and she takes a few steps back. Just as she was about to turn around and run away, the sound of hurried footsteps came from behind her. Fei-Fei, you're back. You're really back. Come and let me see you. Have you lost weight recently? The middle-aged man quickly walked over and hugged the little Loli. His face was full of joy. Your father handed you over to me before he passed away. If anything happens to you outside, how will I explain it to your father in the underworld? The beautiful woman changed her sinister expression and walked towards the middle-aged man with a smile. Master Fei-Fei is back. Don't worry. Besides, she just admitted that she eloped with Nziheo because she was tempted by him. She already knows her mistake, so don't blame her. The beautiful woman turned to Ji-Fei and a cold light flashed across her eyes. She said with a fake smile, Fei-Fei, don't you think so? Seeing the warning in the beautiful woman's eyes, Ji-Fei fell silent. She didn't know if Nziheo had really fallen into her hands. If Nziheo was really in her hands and she didn't listen to her, Nziheo would definitely be in danger. It really is that ingrate Nziheo. The middle-aged man flew into a rage. If my younger brother hadn't saved him, he wouldn't have lived to this day. Now, he eloped with my younger brother's daughter. Fei-Fei is only 6 years old. How could Nziheo do such a thing that's worse than an animal? Chapter 1262. Ingrate. Ji-Fei laughed coldly in her heart. Speaking of ingrates, they were probably more like it. Don't be fooled by the middle-aged man's close relationship with him. That was because he had yet to fully control the Ji family. If word got out that he had mistreated his own brother's daughter, his reputation would plummet. Hence, he would never let such a thing happen. Min or Fei-Fei should be tired. Bring her to rest and dress her up. I will not let my brother's daughter suffer any grievances. The middle-aged man looked up at the beautiful woman and calmly instructed. Master, leave Fei-Fei to me. I will treat her well. The beautiful woman lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. The sinister look in her eyes deepened. She was so happy that she could not close her mouth when she thought of the generous conditions offered by those people. Great Dragon Wall. On the bustling street, and Ziheo stopped in his tracks. He looked at the man and woman beside him and said, Young Master Yun Xiao, Miss Yun, this is the Ji family's territory. The Ji family's influence in Great Dragon Wall is vast, and the master of the Ji family has already reached the level of a sage king. And Ziheo was very angry at this point. Back then, before the previous master, who was Mrs. Father, died, I don't know what he gave the master of the Ji family to make him break through to the level of a sage king. He also asked him to take care of Miss, but I never thought that the Ji family would treat her like this. Her parents had died in an accident, they had forcefully seized the family's assets, then chased the single daughter out of the family. How familiar was this scene? Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly tightened. A cold light flashed in her lowered eyes. Back in Huaxia, she had also experienced such a scene. Even now she could not forget those people's faces. Let's go to the Ji family home now. Yun Luofeng raised her evil eyes slightly, and a murderous intent spread from her body. Who's there? At the entrance of the Ji family home, the two guards at the door saw the menacing group and their expressions instantly turned cold. However, when they caught a glimpse of Ziheo, who was following closely behind, their cold expressions turned into shock. Ziheo, how dare you come back? One of the guards looked furious. He shot a look at his comrade and said, Hurry and inform the master and madam that Ziheo has returned. All right. The guard turned around and walked into the courtyard. Not long after, a man and a woman led a group of people out in a hurry. The man had a dignified expression on his face, and his eyes were like torches. The beautiful woman next to him had a smile on her face, and when she saw Ziheo standing at the entrance, her beautiful eyes flashed with killing intent. Ziheo! The middle-aged man gritted his teeth. You ingrate, you dare to return to my Ji family. Ingrates? Ziheo sneered. You're talking about yourself, aren't you? Impudent. The middle-aged man flew into a rage. You're just a little guard, yet you dare to speak to this patriarch in such a manner. Who gave you such courage? Ziheo raised his handsome face, his expression fearless. You merely inherited your position as the family head from my master. If it wasn't for old master, I don't know where you would be now. Hee hee. The middle-aged man was so angry that he laughed. Speaking of my younger brother, I want to settle the score with you. My younger brother has always treated you well, and even treated you like his own son. What did you do? You seduced his daughter and even eloped with her? Fei Fei is only 6 years old. How could you do such a thing that is worse than an animal? Chapter 1263. Seduce the young mistress? Elope? Ziheo was slightly confused. Suddenly, he raised his head and glared angrily at the beautiful woman. You're the one who spread these rumors? The beautiful woman's eyes flickered and her gaze was filled with grievance. Master, he actually dared to frame me. Furthermore, Fei Fei has already admitted to it, yet he refuses to admit it. The young mistress admitted it? Ziheo's emotions fluctuated even further. Where is the young mistress now? You must have imprisoned her. Let her out. Impudent. The middle-aged man roared once again. Fei Fei is my younger brother's daughter. No one in the household has a higher status than her. Who would imprison her? Ziheo, you seduced Fei Fei first and now you dare to frame her. You deserve to die. Ziheo clenched his fists tightly as veins popped on his forehead. Dan Min, you wanted to marry the young mistress to an old man as a concubine. That was why I had escaped with her. However, you refused to let us go and chased after us for months. Now you've even kidnapped the young mistress. Let the young mistress out. Otherwise, I won't let you off. The beautiful woman's expression became even more aggrieved as she bit her lip. Master, he was the one who seduced Fei Fei and tried to frame me. He actually said that I wanted to marry Fei Fei to an old man as a concubine? Fei Fei is my niece. I love her dearly. How could I possibly let her become a concubine? The middle-aged man comforted the beautiful woman as his sharp gaze swept towards Ziheo. Ziheo, you're digging your own grave. Boom! The aura from his body surged and attacked Nziheo like a torrential storm. Nziheo's expression instantly changed and turned incomparably pale. However, he continued to stand in front of the door and did not collapse. For the sake of the young mistress, he could not give up. You seduce Fei Fei. Today I will kill you. Under normal circumstances, an elopement between a young mistress and a guard would be a scandal for the entire family. No organization would dare to say something like that in front of so many people. However, the middle-aged man did not seem to have any reservations as he continued to accuse Nziheo of seducing Ji Fei. If word of this got out, Ji Fei's reputation would certainly hit rock bottom. Because he wasn't Ji Fei's father and didn't really care about Ji Fei. He didn't care about her at all. Suddenly, an even more powerful pressure came from the front, causing him to take a few steps back. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at the black-robed man in shock. Sir. The middle-aged man took a deep breath. He could feel Yun Zhao's powerful strength, so much so that he did not dare to act blindly without thinking. This matter concerns our Ji family. I want to teach this guard who seduced my niece a lesson. I hope your excellency will not be a busybody. Yun Zhao did not seem to hear his words. Her slender fingers gently tidied Yun Luofeng's silky hair, as the corners of her lips curled into a shallow angle. The wind is too strong. Your hair is a mess. Let me tidy it up for you. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and allowed the man to tidy up her hair. An evil light flashed in the corner of her eyes and she laughed silently. Seeing that he was ignored by Yun Zhao, the middle-aged man's expression became even uglier. He clenched his fists tightly and said, Sir. Yun Zhao frowned and said in a cold voice, He's too long-winded. And then? Can I kill him? His words were very simple. It was as if killing someone was as easy as eating and drinking to him. There was no challenge at all. Up to you. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. Her evil cold eyes swept towards the middle-aged man and noticed that his face had turned ashen. It was obvious that he was extremely angry. Chapter 1264. Nziheo Yun Zhao and I will take care of this. Bring Ji Fei here. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the middle-aged man. The evil light in his slightly narrowed eyes deepened as he spoke expressionlessly. All right. Nziheo nodded in agreement. He glanced at Yun Luofeng and walked past the middle-aged man into the Ji household. The man beside Yun Luofeng was too powerful. These people from the Ji family were certainly no match for him. Guards, capture these people. The middle-aged man waved his hand and ordered coldly. In an instant, the guards pulled out their weapons and attacked Yun Luofeng and the girl from all directions. Finished them in one round. Yun Luofeng yawned and said lazily, All right. Yun Zhao lowered her head to look at the girl and smiled dotingly. When she raised her head, her expression turned cold and murderous intent surged from her body. She had said to finish them in one round. She did not mean finish off these guards but everyone present. A strong wind rose and her black robe fluttered. The man's expression was as cold as a god of death. He no longer had the doting look he had when he faced Yun Luofeng. The middle-aged man's face drained of color. His face was pale with fright. He wanted to retreat, but it was as if a hand had reached out from the ground and firmly grabbed onto his ankle. Master, save me. In this strong wind, the beautiful woman felt as if her body was about to be sucked into the air. She grabbed onto the middle-aged man tightly, as if she was clutching onto her last life-saving straw. Yun Zhao, don't kill them yet. After Yun Luofeng said this, she simply sat to one side and looked mockingly at the two struggling in the strong wind. Bang! The power penetrated his body. The middle-aged man felt as if all his organs had been crushed. His face was ashen from the pain but he could not even move his feet. He was rooted firmly to the ground. At this moment he was like a live target. He could not move at all. All he could do was forcibly receive the violent power. In the luxurious dormitory, the little Lolita held her cheeks. Her eyes stared unblinkingly at the courtyard outside the room. Her bright eyes were full of worry. I wonder if Brother Nziheo has really fallen into the hands of these people. She sighed softly. When she returned to Ji's house, these people kept a strict watch on her and did not allow her to step into the door. She had no chance to leave here. Nziheo, you actually came back. Suddenly, she heard a loud shout from outside the door, and a look of joy flashed across her big, bright eyes. Brother Ziheo? She quickly jumped off the stool and ran to the door. Unfortunately, the door was locked with a metal chain. She knocked on the door and said anxiously, Brother Ziheo, is it you? Did you not fall into their hands? You came back to save me? Outside the door, no one answered her. The little Loli's heart gradually sank, her eyes filled with disappointment. Was he hallucinating just now? Brother Ziheo didn't come? Just as she was about to turn around in disappointment, the crisp sound of a chain being cut came from behind her, causing her small body to stiffen. Miss, I'm here to pick you up. Miss, I have come to take you away. The little Loli could not believe her ears. She bit her lips and turned her head stiffly, and Ziheo appeared in front of her, covered in blood. Chapter 1265. And Ziheo held a long sword in his hand, the blade dripping with fresh blood. Behind him, 2 guards lay in a pool of their own blood. Brother Ziheo. The little Loli's face changed from disbelief to surprise. Her mouth twitched as tears almost rolled down her cheeks. She cried out and pounced towards Ziheo, fiercely crashing into his arms. Brother Ziheo, they want to sell me to someone else. I'm so scared, sob. Ever since arriving at the G family home, she had been suppressing her emotions. It was only when she saw Ziheo that her tears burst out. No matter how mature little Lolita was, she was still just a 6-year-old child. How could she not be afraid? And Ziheo hugged little Lolita's body tightly. He gently lowered his eyes to hide the heartache in his eyes. I've said it before, no matter where you are, I will come and find you. He slowly released little Lolita in his arms and squatted down. His resolute gaze met her tear-filled eyes. Miss, I will always be your guard. A guard's duty was to protect Miss's safety, so he would never abandon her for the rest of his life. Little Lolita wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her adorable face lit up with a smile. Brother Ziheo, how did you get here? Why did those 2 let you in? Miss, I'm not the only one here. Miss Yun is here too. Yun Luofeng? Little Lolita was stunned. Her eyes curved into crescent moons and her smile was as bright as the sun. I knew that she would definitely come to save me. Why? And Ziheo was stunned. How did you know? Because she taught me how to kill. Little Lolita smiled adorably. From the moment she taught me how to kill, she accepted us. And Ziheo laughed bitterly. In the end, he was the only one who was shocked by Yun Luofeng's help. But Miss had already seen through everything. Let's go, Mississippi. Miss Yun is still waiting for us outside. And Ziheo held little Lolita's hand and walked out of the house. From this moment onwards, he would never let Miss come to any harm. On the streets outside the G family home, there were already many pedestrians gathered. These people were shocked by Yun Zhao's strength, and were also deeply puzzled by the fact that the other party had come to the G family to cause trouble. Yun Luofeng's sharp eyes caught sight of Ziheo and his servant walking out of the courtyard, and his expression finally relaxed. It seems that the Ji family did not mistreat Ji Fei. If that was the case, she was relieved. Fei. The middle-aged man's expression changed when he saw Ziheo holding the little Lolita's hand. You still want to elope with Ziheo? How can you face your parents if you do this? The little girl raised her head and looked at the middle-aged man. She said in a childish voice, I didn't elope with Brother Ziheo. Auntie has wronged us. She wanted to sell me to an old man as a concubine, but I didn't agree, so she wanted to put me under house arrest. It was Big Brother Ziheo who helped me escape. The crowd was in an uproar. During this period of time, Long Chongcheng and everyone else had thought that the little girl of the Ji family had eloped with a guard. Now it seemed that there was more to it than meets the eye. What nonsense are you spouting? The beautiful woman was furious and glared at the little Loli. Little Lolita raised her head and stared fearlessly into the woman's fierce eyes. When you saw that I had escaped, you sent assassins to hunt me down. But later, because someone offered you a spiritual beast and tens of millions of silvers to buy me, you agreed. You also gave up on hunting me down and brought me back to the Ji family. Chapter 1266. The beautiful woman's body began to tremble violently. She could already see the looks of ridicule in the eyes of the crowd. Damned girl, if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart. The little lowly scoffed. Just now you used Brother Ziheo's life to threaten me and force me to admit to this matter. If I didn't agree, you would make a move on Brother Ziheo. These past few months it was Brother Ziheo who risked his life to protect me. That's why I was able to survive. For Brother Ziheo's sake, I had no choice but to let you control me. The crowd had already begun to point fingers at the beautiful woman. The looks of ridicule and disdain were like a thorn that pierced fiercely into her heart. The little lowly gripped in Ziheo's hand tightly and continued. You said that I was a freeloader in the G family. The G family had raised me for 6 years, so I should contribute to the G family. Ji-Fei. The beautiful woman wanted to stop the little lowly. However, the little lowly could not even bear to look at her and continued to narrate her crimes. The G family was established by my parents. I'm their adopted daughter and their only daughter. Yet you think that I'm just an outsider. You're the people closest to my parents. You even said that you deserve everything in the G family. I'm just a freeloader who stayed in the G family. The crowd on the street could no longer bear to watch. Voices of criticism swarmed towards the beautiful woman like a tidal wave. This madam of the G family actually dares to say such things. TSK, you really don't know a person's face. I thought that she had treated Ji-Fei very well. Even though Ji-Fei is only an adopted daughter, she was adopted by the previous head of the Ji family. According to the genealogy, she is the rightful heir to the Ji family. If Ji-Fei had not been so young, the previous head of the Ji family would not have handed the family over to his own younger brother. Unfortunately, the previous head of the Ji family did not have a good eye for people. Ji-Fei was wronged by the Ji family and was almost sold off. She was even labeled as a freeloader and even shamelessly claimed that the Ji family had raised Ji-Fei for 6 years. TSK, were they the ones who raised her for 6 years? That's the daughter that the former patriarch raised himself. For many years this shameless couple lived and ate for free in the Ji family, enjoying the grace that the Ji family brought them. But their parents died less than a year ago, and they want to sell their daughter. I've seen shameless people, but only this pair are shameless to this extent. Today, I've really broadened my horizons. After saying what she wanted to say in her heart, Ji-Fei felt her entire body relax. The unwillingness and anger that she had suppressed for many days was finally revealed in front of others. The beautiful woman's body went limp and she collapsed to the ground. Her forehead was covered with a layer of cold sweat and her face was pale. Dan Min. The middle-aged man turned to Dan Min angrily. Is what she said true? Dan Min's face grew paler and paler. Suddenly she smiled and it was a sinister smile. Am I wrong? She had been freeloading in the Ji family. She doesn't have the bloodline of the Ji family in her body. She's not even a member of the Ji family. The beautiful woman's hair was disheveled and she looked like a lunatic. Her eyes emitted a dark green light. This Ji family is ours. We definitely can't give it to that little hussy Ji-Fei. Shut up. At this moment, Yun Xiao had already retracted his tail teeth. So, the middle-aged man quickly ran in front of Dan Min and fiercely slapped her across the face. Who allowed you to say such words? Fei Fei is my younger brother's only daughter. You actually dare to say that she's freeloading? Chapter 1267. Dan Min lowered her head. Her hair was a mess on her temples as her lips slowly curled into a sarcastic smile. You are the only heir to the Ji family. As the elder brother, the Ji family will be yours after your younger brother dies. Who does Ji-Fei think she is? She's just an adopted daughter, not a real member of the Ji family. You. The middle-aged man trembled in anger. Of course, his thoughts were the same as Dan Min's. He believed that he should be the head of the Ji family. However, he was not stupid enough to show it in front of others. He angrily scolded. Hurry up and apologize to Fei Fei. Dan Min scoffed and turned around. Her eyes were filled with disdain. Fei Fei. When the middle-aged man saw that it was Dan Min, he quickly walked over to her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. It's all eldest uncle's fault for making you suffer. Don't worry, eldest uncle will avenge you and divorce this woman. Eldest uncle has always doted on you. How could I allow you to suffer? The little Lolita gently raised the corners of her lips and blinked her large eyes. If I wanted to take back everything that belonged to my parents, would you give it to me? The middle-aged man looked a little embarrassed. He said earnestly, Fei, you're too young. It's not easy to be the head of the family. Over the past year, haven't I worked hard enough? How could I bear to see you work so hard? You should still be the eldest miss of the G family. I can give you a position that is second only to one and above all. The little Lolita tilted her head innocently. But I'm not afraid of being tired. Can eldest uncle return my power? This was left behind by my father. Besides, brother Ziheo has been helping me. The middle-aged man's expression darkened. He glanced at Ziheo and said in a low voice, Fei, in this world, how can outsiders be more reliable than family? And Ziheo may have been with you for so many years, but he is still an outsider. If you ask him to help you, isn't that the same as giving him power? The little Lolita smiled. Eldest uncle, during the days that I've been away, it was this outsider you speak of who used his life to protect me. Even when he went to work as a laborer, he never let me suffer from hunger. In comparison, you so-called relatives have always schemed against me, and even slapped my father's family and refused to give me anything. The middle-aged man's expression gradually became cold. Fei, stop fooling around. Let's go home first, okay? When we get back, I'll have a good chat with you. No. The little Loli pushed away the middle-aged man's hand, raised her head and said word by word, I only want Ji's family. Yun Luofeng was right. A kind person would be bullied, and a kind horse would be ridden. If she wanted to never be bullied again, she had to become stronger. Fei. The middle-aged man's expression was somewhat ugly. This Ji family was handed over to me by your father. I have to be responsible for the Ji family. If I put the Ji family in your hands, what if you completely destroy the Ji family? How am I going to see your father? The little Loli's eyes were stubborn. No matter what you say, this Ji family is mine. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched the two of them clash. Yun Xiao, if anyone dares to stop Ji Fei from managing the Ji family, kill them without mercy. When he heard the words kill without mercy, the middle-aged man's body trembled violently. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yun Luofeng. Aren't you meddling too much? Are you going to meddle in other people's family affairs? Chapter 1268. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and called out. Yun Xiao stepped forward. His cold and murderous aura rose once again and surged towards the middle-aged man. Ji Fei, how do you want to punish them? Yun Luofeng turned to look at Ji Fei and asked. Ji Fei bit her lip. Big Aunt treated me like that, I won't let her live. As for Big Uncle, even though he's a bit greedy, he's never hurt me. I want to chase him out of the Ji family. Ji Fei, you've shown mercy. Yun Luofeng looked at Ji Fei. He's greedy for power. Will he be satisfied after you take away the Ji family? Ji Fei lowered her head. She knew that Yun Luofeng was right. If Big Uncle was not satisfied with his power being taken away, he would definitely come back for her. Yun Xiao, cripple him, Yun Luofeng said slowly. I don't want to cause any more trouble. Okay. As soon as the man finished speaking, the middle-aged man didn't even have time to beg for mercy before he felt a force hit his dantian. He spat out a mouthful of blood, took 2 steps back and collapsed. Ji Fei's father gave you your power. I'm taking it back on his behalf. Yun Luofeng glanced at the middle-aged man and slowly walked towards Ji Fei. If you don't want to kill him for your own safety, you must cripple his power. Little Loli nodded. I understand. She had not planned to kill Big Uncle because of her father. She had forgotten that a narrow-minded person like Big Uncle would definitely seek revenge on her. Ji Fei. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and continued. In this world, don't trust anyone besides Ziheo, even if that person is your family. Little Loli pursed her lips and stared at the young girl in front of her with misty eyes. Will you stay? No, I have to return to the academy. Yun Luofeng shook his head. Wait. Just as she finished speaking, Xiao Mo's small body walked over from behind. He looked at little Loli with a smile. We saved you just now, shouldn't you repay us? Ji Fei blinked her eyes. My ability is relatively weak and there are very few things I can do. However, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. Little Mo smiled mysteriously. You will definitely be able to do what I want you to do. In fact, in this world only you can do it. G Family Hall. The little loli asked everyone to leave before looking at the boy standing in front of her with a puzzled expression. Just cry. Little Mo took out a porcelain bottle from his lapel and handed it to the little girl. Little Loli was confused. She didn't understand what little Mo was trying to do. Little Mo frowned and said impatiently, I want your tears. It's not a loss for you to give me a few. Even though little Loli didn't know what little Mo wanted her to do, she still did as she was told. She blinked and a teardrop fell from the corner of her eye into the porcelain bottle. As if recalling the grievances she had suffered over the past year, the little Loli cried louder and louder, her tears flowing down like a torrential rain. After a while, the entire porcelain bottle was filled with her tears. That's enough. Little Mo put the porcelain bottle away and his delicate face lit up with a smile. Master, we have the ingredient. Next, we need a few other medicinal ingredients. These ingredients aren't very valuable, and the medicine shop will definitely have them. If that's the case, let's go. Chapter 1269. Yun Luofeng then turned and walked out of the Great Hall. Miss, you stay here, I'll send them off. And Zihao returned to his senses and quickly chased after her. Perhaps sensing his pursuit, Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks, turned her back to Zihao and said, I know you must be curious about Ji-Fei's true identity, but I won't tell you. Knowing this won't do you any good. You only need to protect her for the rest of your life and that's enough. And Zihao was not stupid. Ji-Fei's tears could be used as medicine. How could she be an ordinary child? I understand. And Zihao did not pursue the matter any further and nodded solemnly. For the rest of my life, I and Zihao will use my life to protect Mrs. Safety. Even if I die in battle for her, I will use my soul to continue to protect her. Even if I have to ascend to the heavens or descend to the underworld, nothing can stop my determination. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile and she did not say anything else. Her gaze turned towards the sky in front of her. Yun Xiao Mo, let's go. Yun Xiao silently followed behind Yun Luofeng. Her cold black eyes stared at the young girl's figure, and the coldness on her handsome face gradually disappeared. At this moment, Yun Luofeng, who was rushing back, was completely unaware of the storm that awaited her upon her return to the academy. In the west courtyard, Yao Shu, who was listening to his subordinate's report, was suddenly pulled back by an angry shout. He frowned and a fierce light flashed across his eyes. Then he saw a furious Ling Hai rush in from outside the door. The guards could not stop him no matter how hard they tried. Yao Shu, get out here. Ling Hai rushed in front of Yao Shu and without saying a word, he started to attack him. With a loud bang, Yao Shu dodged to the side and a large hole was punched in the wall behind him by Ling Hai's fist. Ling Hai's fingers cracked as he clenched them. Yao Shu, you expelled Yun Luofeng from the academy? You even sent people to kill her? Yao Shu laughed coldly and his face was filled with ridicule. Yun Luofeng is extremely cruel. First she abused her own son. Then, because my disciples stopped her, she crippled my disciples' limbs. I will definitely settle this debt with her. Ling Hai laughed out loud. Yun Luofeng has a son? Are you kidding me? How could she have a son? Wasn't it because our east courtyard changed the hall master of the duty hall, so you held a grudge and made up a reason to attack Yun Luofeng? Ling Hai, if you don't believe me, you can go ask around. Who in the entire academy doesn't know that Yun Luofeng has a son? What I don't understand is, why are you so angry because of Yun Luofeng's matter? Only a few people knew about what had happened in the duty hall that day. Thus, Yao Shu did not know about the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the east courtyard. Humph. Ling Hai coldly snorted. Yun Luofeng is my disciple, do you think I shouldn't care about her? Let me tell you, if you want to expel Yun Luofeng from the academy, there's no way. Our east courtyard will never agree to this. Yun Luofeng is your disciple? Yao Shu narrowed his eyes, a dangerous glint flashing across his eyes. So Yun Luofeng's actions that day were approved by the east courtyard? Bullshit. Ling Hai directly scolded. Who wants to attack your disciple? It was obviously you who framed her. This matter, wait for the dean to return. I will definitely seek justice for Yun Luofeng. Chapter 1270. Director? The director has been gone for so many years, do you think he will come back? Yao Shu slowly stood up, the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Furthermore, Yun Luofeng did it. My disciple said it herself, she never lies. Ling Hai fiercely flung his sleeves. Even if it was really my disciple who did it, it must be your disciple who did something infuriating. Don't try to push the blame away. As long as I am here, no one can chase my disciple away. After saying this, Ling Hai once again glared at Yao Shu fiercely, turned around and left angrily. Staring at his departing figure, Yao Shu's eyes turned even colder. East Courtyard. Looks like Meng Qi's injury has something to do with the East Courtyard. Do you really think you can protect Yun Luofeng? What a joke, the person I want to kill will never live to see tomorrow. Wuhui Mainland. Ji family. On the luxurious carved bed, the red bed curtains fluttered in the wind, faintly revealing the alluring scene on the bed. Ji Zhouqian half reclined on the bed, his red robe half unbuttoned, revealing his fair jade-like chest. His features were exquisite, with a red dot between his brows, slightly raised, wild and domineering. Two beautiful maids squatted on the bed, massaging his legs. The entire room was filled with an unusual anger. Master! At this moment, a maid's voice came from outside the door. Someone from the 7 continents is here. 7 continents? The man raised his eyebrows. Who? West Continent Institute. Elder Fifan. Originally, the maid thought she would be punished for disturbing the man, who knew that only the man's charming laughter could be heard from inside the room. 7 continents. Yun Luofeng has been in the 7 continents for some time, let him in. Yes, master. Just as she finished speaking, the maid's footsteps gradually faded away. Not long after, the room door was pushed open by an old hand. Lin Fifan hurried in from outside. His eyes immediately saw the bewitching man on the bed. His eyes instantly filled with grievance. Director, when are you going back to the school? The school cannot be left unattended. You should return with us. The man's smiling eyes were like a sharp sword that shot towards Lin Fifan. He picked up a grape by the side with his fingernails and gently squeezed it until it burst. A cold light flashed across his slightly narrowed eyes. If the Western Continent Academy needs me to go back and take charge, then what are you elders for? Lin Fifan's voice paused. The Western Continent Academy has been divided into 2 big sects, the East Courtyard and the West Courtyard. But before the internal troubles were settled, external troubles came. Back then, when you were still around, even the Continent Lord had to be courteous to our Western Continent Academy. Once you disappeared, the Continent Lord no longer placed our academy in his eyes. The man casually picked up another grape. This time he did not crush it. Instead, he elegantly placed it in his mouth. All these years, I have only managed your Western Continent Academy on behalf of my good friend. This does not mean that the Western Continent Academy can restrict me. Dean. Lin Fifan still wanted to say something, but the man's expression gradually became impatient. I have helped him for so many years, that's enough. Go back, there's no need to come to the Ji family to find me. Lin Fifan sighed helplessly. He took one last look at the bewitching man, then walked out with a bitter smile. Western Continent. Ji Zhouqian gently placed a finger on his lips, his smile extremely bewitching. I should indeed make a trip to the Western Continent, but not to the Western Continent Academy. Chapter 1271. The maid gathered her courage and asked, Master is planning to find Miss Yun? That's right. Ji Zhouqian laughed maniacally. I haven't seen that girl in a long time, I really miss her. After a while I'll go find her. Thinking of Yun Luofeng, Ji Zhouqian's smile deepened and the corners of his lips involuntarily rose. But, Ji Zhouqian frowned, the Ji family's spatial tunnel leads to the West Continent Academy. I really don't want to see those old things. But this is the only way I can reach the 7 continents faster. West Continent Academy. At the entrance, Yun Zhao's arm was wrapped around Yun Luofeng's waist. Just as she was about to enter, she was stopped by 2 people. Yun Luofeng, you're no longer a disciple of the West Continent Academy. You have no right to take another step into the West Continent Academy. A guard blocked in front of Yun Luofeng and said expressionlessly. The other guard saw Yun Luofeng appear, and immediately turned to run back to the academy. He was going to inform Yao Shu. Yun Luofeng looked at the guard who stopped her and gently patted Yun Zhao's hand, indicating for him not to make a move. Who gave the order to chase me out of the West Continent Academy? She raised her brows and looked coldly at the guard in front of her. The guard replied coldly, "It's Elder Yao Shu's order. You injured Elder Yao Shu's disciple and still dare to return to the academy. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Yao Shu's disciple? Yun Luofeng did not understand and did not know what had happened. Yun Luofeng. Suddenly an anxious voice sounded from the front. Yun Luofeng looked up and saw Hu Li quickly rushing out of the courtyard. Yun Luofeng, hurry and leave this place. Hu Li's expression was very anxious and she kept looking back as if she was afraid that someone would chase after them. Yun Luofeng became even more confused. Hu Li, what exactly happened? She had only left for half a month. What exactly had happened in the academy? Yun Luofeng, Elder Yao Shu's disciple, Yao Mengqi, had her tendons cut by someone a while ago. Now she has come out and said that it was you who did it. Hurry and leave this place, it'll be too late if you don't leave now. Yun Luofeng was silent. She thought for a moment, but she still couldn't figure out who this Yao Mengqi was. Yao Mengqi? Could it be her? Little Mo exclaimed in surprise. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Little Mo. You know him? Little Mo rubbed his nose and said, the woman who broke into our house had her tendons cut off by Yun Xiao. Furthermore, not only did she eat the food that Yun Xiao made for you, she even tried to seduce Yun Xiao. So she reaped what she sowed. I just don't know why she said that you did all of this. Yun Luofeng subconsciously glanced at Yun Xiao, the corners of his lips curling into a smile. Isn't there a saying that love begets hate? I reckon that when Yun Xiao came to find me, she recognized Yun Xiao and transferred her hatred onto me. Perhaps she even thinks that if I die, Yun Xiao might be hers. The scenery here is not bad. However, Yun Xiao had said this out of the blue. Yun Luofeng was silent. Yun Xiao lowered his eyes and stared at her. If you like it, I can snatch this place for you. What he meant was that he could snatch this West Continent Academy for Yun Luofeng at any time. Why would he be afraid of Yao Shu and his group? Chapter 1272. From the moment he had cut off Yao Mengqi's tendons, he had never placed the West Continent Academy in his eyes. Hu Li's mouth twitched a few times and he said helplessly, you guys better leave quickly. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late. Just as he finished speaking, a powerful force suddenly attacked from behind, carrying with it a monstrous rage as it launched an attack towards Yun Luofeng. Yun Zhao's body flashed and he appeared in front of Yun Luofeng. He raised his palm gently and without any unnecessary movements, he clenched his fist at the same time. Energy surged out from his body and with a bang, he pushed the incoming person back. Yao Shu's expression was extremely serious as he stared coldly at Yun Xiao. Who are you? The person I'm looking for is Yun Luofeng. Unrelated people, get out of my way. Yun Zhao's face was expressionless as he stared coldly at Yao Shu. His black robe fluttered without any wind and his aura was austere. Yun Luofeng. Yao Shu's gaze moved away from Yun Xiao and landed on Yun Luofeng's face. He gritted his teeth. It's you hurt my disciple. Today, since you've returned to the West Continent Academy, I'll cripple your powers and make you kneel in front of my disciple for 3 months. I'll let you have a taste of the pain she endured. Yao Shu's eyes filled with rage as he thought of his daughter who was lying on the bed. He wanted nothing more than to tear Yun Luofeng into 1,000 pieces. Your disciple? A hoarse voice came from the side. The man's expression was as cold and emotionless as usual. I hurt her. Boom. Yao Shu's anger surged again as he stared coldly at Yun Xiao. That's impossible. My disciple said that the person who hurt her was Yun Luofeng. That must be Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng couldn't defeat my disciple, so he used this kid as bait to deceive my disciple. My disciple is kind and didn't guard against a child at all. That's why she fell into their trap. His sharp gaze swept across Xiao Mo's body as the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Xiao Mo laughed mockingly. Your disciple clearly tried to seduce my father and was injured by him. Yet she blamed my mother for it. Tisketeske, in your heart, is this kind of woman a kind person? Humph. Yao Shu snorted coldly. Don't even think of framing my disciple. My disciple has a whole bunch of suitors. It's impossible for her to seduce this man. Hu Li is also one of her pursuers. If she chooses Hu Li, why would she look for a man who already has a wife? Puff! Hu Li almost spat out his saliva. What did this have to do with him? Moreover, when did he become Yao Mengqi's pursuer? Why didn't he know? I see. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and looked at Hu Li with a faint smile. So you are Yao Mengqi's pursuer? Cough cough. Hu Li coughed twice and shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. I've never liked a woman like Yao Mengqi. Even if she came knocking on my door, I wouldn't accept her. Hu Li. Seeing that someone dared to humiliate his daughter, Yao Shu flew into a rage. What did you say? Do you dare to repeat what you just said? Am I not clear enough? Even if Yao Mengqi came to me, I wouldn't like her. Hu Li might as well give up. At most, he would leave West Continent College with Yun Luofeng. He felt that following beside Yun Luofeng was better than staying in this kind of place. Moreover, West Continent College's East Dean elders were all Yun Luofeng's masters. If they could rush over, Yun Luofeng might not be in danger. Good, it seems like you don't want to mingle in West Continent College anymore. Since that's the case, from today onwards, you are no longer a disciple of our college. Yao Shu's eyes flashed coldly as he gritted his teeth. Chapter 1273. Elder Yao Shu, I'm afraid this isn't too good. When the other elders of the West Academy saw Yao Shu's action, they quickly advised. Hu Li is a disciple on the heaven list. If you expel him, our academy will lose 2 geniuses at once. So what? I said I would expel him, so he must be expelled. I won't let off anyone who insults my disciple. In this life he owed Yao Mengqi too much. And because of his negligence, his daughter had suffered such harm. So how could he allow these people who had harmed her to get away scot-free? Didn't you say you wanted to speak up for Yun Luofeng? Then there's no need for you to stay. In any case, my Western Continent Academy doesn't lack you. Haha. A cold laugh pierced through the sky, landing in everyone's ears. I really don't know when it was your turn to make decisions in the Western Continent Academy. Su Kong and the others walked over from behind, their expressions filled with fury. Only when they saw that Yun Luofeng was safe and sound did they sigh in relief. Shuang bitterly smiled. She had originally thought that after taking in a female disciple, she would have much more leisure time. Who would have thought that Yun Luofeng would cause more trouble than anyone else? In the time she had taken her in, she had caused quite a bit of commotion in the academy. But so what? Who told her to be their disciple? Could it be that she had to just watch as these bastards bullied her? You really want to stop me from getting revenge for my disciple? Yao Shu's eyes sank. This Yun Luofeng has committed a monstrous crime. First he abused his own son, and then he harmed Mengqi, who wanted to protect the weak. He even framed Mengqi for stealing. How can I endure this? In any case, no matter who comes today, Yun Luofeng must die. Yao Shu's aura once more exploded out, surging into the sky. Under this heavy aura, some of the guards couldn't even breathe. Shuang quickly walked over to Yun Luofeng, a warm smile on her face. Fenger, don't be afraid. Our masters will protect you. Tell us what exactly happened, and we'll definitely get justice for you. Yun Luofeng did not speak, but little Mo could not help but speak up. It was Yao Mengqi who wanted to seduce my father. She was also injured by my father, and my parents did not beat me up. It was she who took a fancy to my father, and took the opportunity to strike up a conversation. Who knew that my father would ignore her, so she took the opportunity to sneak into my house. With just a few words he had explained everything clearly. Surprise flashed across Shui Ying's eyes. What surprised her was that Yun Luofeng really had a son. What followed was a bellyful of anger. His cold eyes turned towards Yao Shu. Your disciple is so daring that he even dares to seduce my disciple's husband? Did she really lack men that much? If she's really a man, there are so many students in the academy who would definitely be willing to have sex with her. Usually, Shuang was very gentle, and even Su Kong and the others rarely saw her angry. But now, she was clearly unable to control her anger, and her words were very poisonous. Shuang! Yao Shu raged. You humiliated Mengqi. Shuang sneered. It was she who did such a shameless thing. How can you blame others for humiliating her? Ha ha ha. Yao Shu was so angry that he started laughing. Good elder of the East Institution. It seems that you really want to protect Yun Luofeng to the end. If that's the case, then we can only decide victory or defeat in one battle. The West Institution and the East Institution had fought openly and secretly for so many years, but they had never shed all pretense of cordiality. But now, for Yun Luofeng, the elders of the two institutions stood on opposite sides. Chapter 1274. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't touched. Yun Luofeng had his own goals when he first came to the academy. He didn't really treat them as his masters. But these elders had always treated him as a disciple. A warm current flowed through his heart. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a devilish smile and his black eyes glowed. Yun Xiao, if my masters can't beat Yao Shu and the others, then you don't have to care so much. Okay. Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng's body gently and looked at Yao Shu and the others coldly. The entire entrance of the academy instantly became tense. All the disciples of the academy hid far away, deeply afraid that the battle between the two sides would affect them. Huli walked in front of Yun Luofeng and smiled. I didn't think that Yao Mingqi's injury was really because of you guys. Yun Luofeng glanced at him. Your heart aches? Immediately, Huli fell silent. He looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. I have nothing to do with Yao Mingqi. Why should I feel sorry for her? On the contrary, she thinks that I like her and keeps pestering me. I've explained it many times, but she still thinks that I love her deeply. Huli was helpless. Suddenly, he thought of something and couldn't help but laugh. Oh right, I heard from Yao Mingqi not long ago that she saw a man abusing his child. I didn't expect that she was talking about your husband. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and gestured for him to continue. Yao Mingqi said that this child is very pitiful and your husband is also pitiful. On the contrary, you abandoned your husband and child for an evil woman. Unforgivable. It's because you abandoned your husband that he became so cold and heartless. That's why your child was abused like this. TSK, I really don't know how she saw this. Yun Zhao's dark eyes stared at Yun Luofeng. You can't abandon your husband and child. He thought about it and added, I've already become yours. You can't pull up your pants and deny it. Ever since the old man said that he would not recognize anyone if he pulled up his pants, Yun Xiao often said this. She smiled helplessly. After a while we'll go back and get married. Okay. A smile gradually surfaced in Yun Zhao's eyes. Fenger, I'll let you marry in style. A grand wedding? In Yun Luofeng's mind, the scene of Yun Xiao delivering the betrothal gift surfaced. Just the proposal alone was already so sensational. Just how glorious would the grand marriage that Yun Xiao spoke of be? Just as the two of them were stuck together like glue, Yao Shu had already taken the initiative to attack Su Kong and the others. Once they reached this level, it would be very difficult for others to intervene in the battle. Therefore, the Academy's disciples could only see a few figures fighting in the void, but they were unable to determine their strength. Is this the power of an Academy elder? He was so powerful that no one could match him. Boom boom boom. In the void, countless streams of energy spread out, causing the entire sky to turn gray. It was as if a layer of dust had covered the originally azure sky. Elder. Just as the two sides were locked in a fierce battle, a panicked voice rushed over. I sensed a power coming from the wormhole in the academy. If I'm not wrong, someone must have come through the wormhole. What? In the void, the two sides separated. They looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Chapter 1275. Someone came through the wormhole? Could it be? It's the dean, it must be the dean. Shuaying was overjoyed. I met the dean about 10 years ago. I haven't seen him for 10 years. I didn't expect the dean to come back at this time. Su Kong and the others were also surprised, forgetting about the battle just now. Yao Shu, since the dean is back, let's seek justice from the dean. Su Kong looked at Yao Shu and his lips curled into a cold smile. Yao Shu laughed and his eyes were filled with anger. Even if the dean is back, he will definitely stand on my side. After all, my disciple was crippled by Yun Luofeng. Don't tell me that I don't even have the right to seek justice. You just listen to your disciple's side of the story, and you think that my disciple was in the wrong first. Shuaying said coldly. The dean will naturally seek justice for this matter. Let's go and pardon her now. After saying this, she walked to Yun Luofeng's side and said, Fenger, don't be afraid. The dean will definitely seek justice for us. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. Yun Xiao, let's go and join in the fun. At the same time, let's see what kind of person the dean is. The West Continent Academy's wormhole was located at the back of the mountain. Other than the elders, no one else had the right to enter the back of the mountain. At this moment, at the entrance of a cave in the back of the mountain, the elders looked nervous as they stared unblinkingly at the entrance of the cave. In an instant, a ray of light flashed and a coquettish man slowly walked out of the cave. His red clothes were brighter than blood and he was peerless. It seems that I have been discovered. The man's red lips curled into a smile. His clothes were always half open and he was coquettish and flirtatious. Greetings, Dean. All the elders knelt down and greeted him respectfully. The man held the back of his head with both hands and narrowed his eyes. His gaze swept across the crowd and in the next moment, he found Yun Luofeng standing behind the crowd. Yun Luofeng was stunned. Ji Jiutian was the dean of the West Continent Academy? Was this world so small? She actually bumped into him here? Yun Xiao felt the change in the girl next to him and held her hand tightly. He looked at Ji Jiutian coldly and became slightly vigilant. Dean! Yao Shu stood up from the ground and cried. You have to help me. My disciple was injured and her hands and feet were broken. But these people from the East Courtyard still want to protect her. This is really infuriating. Ji Jiutian withdrew his gaze from Yun Luofeng and raised his eyebrows at the elders. I want to know what exactly happened. Principal, Shuang glared fiercely at Yao Shu. It was Yao Shu's disciple who tried to seduce my disciple's man. That's why I took revenge. Yao Shu sneered and said mockingly. My disciple needs to seduce men? Especially when the other party was someone else's man. This woman can't compare to my disciple in any way, and now she wants to frame her. His gaze was directed at Yun Luofeng. Ji Jiutian looked at Yun Luofeng again, and the corners of his lips curled up into a meaningful smile. You said that the person who crippled your disciple was Yun Luofeng? Yao Shu did not react for a moment and replied. That's right, it was Yun Luofeng. She abused her own son and my disciple saw it, so she crippled my disciple. Principal you. Chapter 1276. Suddenly, Yao Shu reacted and stared at Ji Jiutian with widened eyes. Dean. How did you know her name is Yun Luofeng? Ji Jiutian smiled. Her smile was as wild and domineering as usual. Unfortunately, this girl is my friend. Friend? Yao Shu widened his eyes in shock and stared at Ji Jiutian in disbelief. At this moment he even suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Did the dean just say Yun Luofeng was his friend? Yao Shu's face paled at this moment. He took 2 steps back and stumbled before falling to the ground. Despair filled his heart. Ji Jiutian slowly walked towards Yao Shu. Based on my understanding of Yun Luofeng, she would never provoke anyone. On the contrary, there are often blind people who provoke her. If it wasn't for your daughter angering her, she wouldn't have crippled her. Also, Ji Jiutian paused, his smile was sinister. You said that Yun Luofeng can't compare to your disciple? Which means that there's something wrong with my judgment, right? Yao Shu's lips trembled slightly. He laughed dryly. Dean, this is a misunderstanding. Everything is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Ji Jiutian laughed wildly. Then why didn't you say it was a misunderstanding before? When I said that Yun Luofeng was my friend, you said it was a misunderstanding. It seems that in the 10 years that I left, West Continent Academy was indeed not as good as before. Su Kong and the others looked at each other. They never thought that Yun Luofeng would be the dean's disciple. This matter was too unexpected, and it shook everyone's hearts. Yun Luofeng, Huli looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Why didn't you say so earlier that you knew the dean? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. I didn't know that other than being the ancestor of the Ji family, this guy was also the dean of West Continent Academy. What other identities does he have? I'm interested. Hearing this, Yun Xiao quickly turned Yun Luofeng's head around so that she could look at her. She said jealously, It's enough that you're interested in me, you don't need to be interested in him. Dean. Ling Hai looked at Yao Shu. Whenever he thought about how Yao Shu wanted to make a move on his disciple, the anger in his heart would surge. How should we punish Yao Shu for his actions? Ji Jiutian glanced at Yao Shu. Send him to the criminal court for punishment. Also, throw his disciple over as well. Every force had their own rules. That was the reason why the criminal division existed. Jijutian was not a kind person to begin with. How could the punishment he set be easy? Therefore, the moment Yao Shu is sent to the Hall of Crime, his life will be worse than death. Yao Shu knew this as well. His legs turned to jelly and he collapsed to the ground. His expression changed from one of high spirits to one of despair. Jijutian walked toward Yun Luofeng. A smile appeared on his beautiful face, and a ray of light flashed in his long and narrow eyes. Long time no see. His lips curled into a light smile. After greeting them, he turned his gaze towards Yun Shao. Of these two men, one was cold and expressionless, while the other was flirtatious and elegant. A light breeze lifted their robes. The two of them stood side by side, but they were not inferior to each other. Jijutian. Jijutian slowly said his name. Yun Luofeng's man. This was Yun Zhao's self-introduction. He did not say his name. Instead, he said that he was Yun Luofeng's man.